Financial advisor James Mika is suing dating service owner Carol Coker for a refund of his money. James says Carol failed to provide the guaranteed number of dates.
Order. Come to order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 572 on the calendar in the matter of Mika versus Coker. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mr. Mika, according to your complaint, you signed up with the defendant's dating service.
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
You paid her a substantial amount of money, and according to you, she did not fulfill her end of the bargain.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Just a second. Ms. Coker says that you do, in fact, have a contract with her, that you signed, that you did perform her service, and that you're not entitled to a refund.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. How did you find her service, Mr. Mika?
I looked it up in the phone book.
How did you choose her service over any of the others?
It was the only one in town. I live in a rural area.
So she was the only game in town?
Yes.
Did you make an appointment to see her?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Where did you go?
She came to my house.
On what date did she come to your home?
March 1st, 2002.
Tell me about the meeting.
All right, she came and she had told me that she'd had these people that she would introduce me to, and she said that basically that your trouble looking for people will be over. I'll send you, at first she said 10 to 15 referrals per month, but in the contract she wrote 6 to 8, and that I would pay $24.95 up front, and that I would get a minimum of 6 to 8 referrals per month per life or until I was married. So
okay.
She came.
That's $2,495.
That's correct, $2,495.
Okay.
So I had received 12 referrals at the time I signed up for the contract. Should I tell the rest of the story with it?
Absolutely.
Okay. The first person I went out with was a school teacher, and she thought would be a good match. And when I went out with her, we went to a restaurant, and she says, there's one thing I have to tell you. I think you're a really nice guy, Jim, but I am going out with someone. And Carol knew that at the time she set me up with you, and she should have never set me up with you. She also told me that she had paid $1,200 for the dating service, and her boyfriend had only paid $750. And she asked how much I paid, and I had to admit that I paid nearly $2,500. I had gone out with 2 of the other 12 people before I left for the state of Maine on June 17th, and at that time, neither one of those worked out. When I came back from Maine on October 31st, I called Carol again in November, assuming I would get more referrals, and she did not give me any, and she kept saying, I'll give you some later on. And on December 3rd, she told me that she had the perfect person for me, that I just have to pay her another $1,250 and she would give me that referral.
Why did you have to pay her another $1,250?
Because she said that the other person didn't have the membership fee, so I'd have to pay half her membership fee before she could introduce us, Your Honor.
And what did you say to her?
I said, no, I can't afford to do that.
That was in December of 2002?
Yes, in December. So I continued calling her until early January, hoping to find people. And at the beginning of January, I think it was either on the 7th or the 9th, she said, you know, I'll call you when I have someone. Don't call me, I'll call you. And after a month, when she hadn't called back, I filed a document stating that I wanted my money back within 10 days, otherwise it would take legal action.
Can I see the contract, please?
I've got a contract and the letter I sent. They're both here, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The names written on top of this contract, are those the names of the people that she furnished you with, sir?
Yes, they are.
Okay. In your letter, you say that recently you told me personally that you could not fulfill the terms of our contract due to the fact that I am blind. Did she ever say that to you, sir? Or did she say the reason I'm having difficulty is because you're blind?
Well, she said that it's hard to find people because you're blind. That's what she told me.
Right, okay. I just wanted the exact language, sir.
Right.
She didn't say I'm not able to fulfill the contract because
Right.
of your
She said she can't find people for me because I'm blind.
Okay, fine. Okay, Ms. Coker, now I'll hear you.
Your Honor, first of all, Mr. Micah joined my service on March the 4th. In fact, I have his contract here.
I have a copy of it. I'm looking at it.
Okay. All right. At this time, when I had given him the ladies' names and numbers, he told me he was a very proud man. He told me that he had a dog named Gidget and that he walked 10 to 12 miles per day and that he was very self-sufficient and that he could maintain his livelihood and so forth. So when he met even the one lady that he's speaking of particularly, okay, when he joined the dating service, I gave him her number as well as many other ladies' names and numbers.
I got you. So,
okay.
let's go.
Also, he asked me not to hold him being blind against him, and I told him I do not discriminate. I am
No,
not.
all right, so now I have some specific questions for you. Did you ever say to him that you had someone that you thought would be perfect, but that that person could not afford to pay their membership? And would he be interested in paying for 1/2 of her membership so that you could make the introduction?
No, ma'am. That
never
statement was not made, ever.
In December, you never had someone that you thought was great for him, but who couldn't come up with the membership in your
No, ma'am.
organization?
I told him then that the lady had moved and that she was having trouble coming up with her funds, and as soon as she got her tax refund, she was going to join the dating service. At that time, I asked him if he would work with me. He said yes. I had
Work with him how?
give me time to get more people in, that I would reduce my cost, that I would give free memberships to ladies for him to meet. I would do anything.
Well, why don't you do that with this lady?
Well, because bottom line, Your Honor, I'm not God. I have no control over people losing jobs.
Oh, listen to me. You're not following. You're doing a lot of double talking. You can't go to double talk me, Miss Coker. You just said to me that you had a lady that you thought was suitable for him in December. The only problem is she had lost her job and she didn't have the funds to join your service.
Correct.
So you were going to wait for her to get some funds to join your service before you introduced her to Mr. Mika.
That's correct.
And 2 seconds before you said you told him that you were going to reduce your fee or not charge a fee so that he could in fact meet people.
Ma'am, that was in December.
That's what I'm saying to you. That was in December.
Correct.
So?
In January was when I told him I would start reducing my fee to the
Why
ladies.
didn't you do it in December? You weren't fulfilling your contract in December. Why didn't you do it in
Ma'am,
December?
he was still seeing the lady that he was originally had met through my dating service.
Were you dating somebody then, Mr. Mika?
No, Your Honor, I was not.
Okay. My next question, Ms. Coker, is, do you have one set fee for everyone? Answer the question, madam.
Yes. Yes, I have one set fee for everyone.
Okay. Now, so that if I were to pick up the telephone and call these 12 women, they would tell me that each of them paid $2,495 for your service.
According to what time they joined the service, how long they've been in the service.
That's
yes.
not what I'm asking you. I'm asking, you're double talking me again.
Ma'am, what I'm stating is that when cost of advertising goes up, I have to increase my price. Okay?
In March of 2002.
If someone...
It's very easy to find out, Ms. Coker.
joined-
I'm speaking. In March of 2002, in April of 2002, and in February of 2002, are you telling me that everyone who joined your service paid $2,495?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Mika, you have the telephone number of this woman that you...
I can give it to you. It's 352.
Well, she might be working now, but let's try it.
Your Honor, may I speak?
No.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
When you say you were with Patty, had you spent Christmas with her?
Yes,
Not with Miss Lipman?
I spent Christmas morning with her.
So that you were really leading kind of a double life.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. James Mika claims he was ripped off by dating service owner Carol Coker. Carol insists she lived up to her part of their agreement.
Well, first of all, you'd be happy to know that she is no longer seeing the guy. But she likes you as a friend. She's crazy about your dog. She paid half what you did for your membership. She paid $1,200. And she joined about a year and a half ago. So you have different amounts that you charge for different people. You charged him twice as much. Any reason for that, Ms. Coker?
Ma'am, she joined a year and a half or 2 years ago.
No.
She did not join the day that Jim Micah joined.
That's not what I'm saying to you, Ms. Coker. Don't play with me. Your advertising costs didn't double in 4 months. You say to me, when your costs go up, that goes up.
That is correct.
Mr. Mika, I'm not going to play with this case anymore. I think that she took advantage of you. I think that she took advantage of you financially. I think that she does have different amounts of money that she charges different people. I don't think that there is any set fee for her service. I think she charges what traffic will bear. In your case, traffic was $24.95. Some people it's $1,200, some people it's $600. She was certainly not honest with me when she said that everybody gets the same fee who signs up at the same time. I do not believe her. I also don't believe that she followed through with her contract. I think that the statement she made to you that in December that she had somebody that would be perfect but she couldn't come up with her fee was designed to have you say, if she didn't say it right up front, I will pay the fee if you have somebody that's perfect. I think that that's dishonest. I also think that she did furnish you with some ladies' names, one of whom at least you have a nice friendship with, because I understand, at least from her mother, that she's fond of you, and as I said, she's crazy about your dog. So you're not entitled to your entire refund back, but you don't want the service anymore, you're entitled to most of it back. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She figured I was blind and I was desperate and she could take me for a ride.
I only wish that the handicapped, when they want us not to blame for them or not to discriminate them for being handicapped, don't turn it around and make it look like we're the bad person when they do have a handicap, when we didn't cause them to be handicapped.
I guess I showed her I wasn't quite as dumb as she thought I was.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Brown versus Lipman, step forward, please.
44-year-old bar owner Thomas Brown is suing his ex-fiancée, 56-year-old pharmacist Leanne Lipman, for the return of a ring and for stolen property. Leanne claims Thomas was unfaithful.
Mr. Brown, how long were you engaged to Miss Lipman?
Just under 2 months.
Your complaint alleges a couple of things. That she stole some things from your apartment on the night that you broke up with her, that she refused to return the engagement ring, and that she destroyed some of your property by spilling perfume all over your apartment. And Miss Lipman says, no, 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 I did none of those things. So I was sort of interested in reading your complaint, sir. You were engaged to Miss Lipman for 2 months.
That's correct.
And prior to that, you had another girlfriend or another fiancée?
Yes.
And what was her name?
Patty.
And how long were you with Patty?
2 years.
When did you break up with Patty?
Probably July of 2002.
And when did you meet Miss Lipman?
August of 2002.
And when did you become engaged to Miss Lipman?
October 31st, 2002.
And on what date did you break up with Miss Lipman?
December 27th, 2002.
And you went back to Patty.
That's correct.
When had you started to see Patty again?
Approximately the last week of November.
Did you tell Miss Lipman?
No, I didn't.
Now, what happened on December 27th, 2002, Mr. Brown?
Well, on December 27th, I was with Patty, and Leanne was going to come and visit me.
But Miss Lipman didn't know that you were with Patty, is that right?
That's correct.
When you say you were with Patty, that was around holiday time.
That's correct.
Had you spent Christmas with her?
Yes.
With Patty?
Yes.
Not with Miss Lipman?
I spent Christmas morning with her.
So that you were really leading kind of a double life?
Yes, I was. I was trying to wait until after Christmas to break off with Leanne. I just did not want to ruin her holidays.
Did you get her a present for Christmas?
Yes, I did.
What did you buy for her?
I think it was a Green Bay Packer jersey, and she's a big Packer fan.
And what did she buy for you?
I believe she bought me a shirt and a sweater, which she ended up taking back.
Now tell me what happened on December 27th. Miss Lipman was coming to visit, and you were with Patty.
And I informed Leanne that I had started seeing Patty again, and she was in her car on the way to my place, and she went absolutely ballistic. I mean, she started screaming, going absolutely berserk. So I told Patty, I said that we should probably leave my place, and I decided to leave my place open, knowing Leanne was over 2 hours from home and probably would need some place to stay and probably would not be in shape to drive. So I left my place open, and that's when she decided to do all the damage.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Thomas Brown is suing his ex-fiancée, Leanne Lipman, for the return of a ring and for stolen property. Leanne claims Thomas was unfaithful.
What time did you arrive there, Miss Lipman?
Approximately 9 o'clock. I've got my cell phone bills to show when I was talking
So
to
you
him.
got there about 9 o'clock.
Uh-huh.
And the door was open.
But it always was. He never
I understand
left.
the door was open. And when did you return to your apartment, Mr. Brown?
Saturday morning,
What time?
approximately 8 o'clock.
Was Miss Lipman still there?
Yes, she was.
tell me what the apartment looked like when you got there.
It didn't look bad at that point, and it did not smell bad at that point either.
Okay. So when you came home, looked normal.
Until I went into the drawers.
And what happened when you looked in the drawers?
Well, when I went in the drawers, I found some pictures that I had taken on cruise lines that were all torn up.
I see that, Bert.
Like this. I got 3 different photos. And then also in the same drawer as these photos were these 2 ring boxes, which this one had a pair of diamond earrings in it.
What was that for?
I had bought them for Patty, actually, and then I bought her a bigger pair, so I had these.
When did you buy those for Patty?
About a year earlier, Christmas the year before.
So, her you bought a jersey, and Patty you bought diamond earrings.
Well, that's correct.
Right. And you were still holding on to those earrings, is that right? For what reason?
For what reason?
Yeah.
Well, they were diamond earrings. You know, I couldn't take them back.
Okay. And what else was missing from the other box?
Well, this was the original engagement ring container, and in this was another gold band. That was the wedding band of the engagement ring.
That's not the original.
Just a minute, I'll get to you in a second. And what else?
Well, you know, she tried so much to destroy my life at that point. I own a restaurant in Wisconsin, and she went upstairs to the bar boasting of what she did to my apartment, destroying pictures and things like that.
Of course she ripped up the pictures, right, Miss Lippman?
Of course. And I don't think I ripped up all those, because I only ripped up colored ones, and I think one was black and white. And I ripped up the pictures of Tom and I also.
But you ripped up these. Of course you did. Okay. So we got the destruction of the pictures, which you'll never be able to replace. Then we have the diamond earrings. Miss Lippman, did you take those?
No, I did not.
What about the wedding band?
No, I did not.
Miss Lippman, look at me. What about spilling perfume? Did you do that?
Yes, I did.
Sure you did. I love it.
But I didn't get the perfume on the leather part of the jacket.
Listen to me. You did that on purpose? Sure. What did she destroy, Mr. Brown?
Well, she tried to destroy my relationship with Patty.
Well, that's too bad.
Yeah, well,
Grow up.
she called her family telling her everything.
Grow up.
Okay.
That's your problem.
Yeah. And, well, she...
I mean,
she went into
what you destroyed in your apartment with the perfume.
She just made it so it was unbearable to smell for a couple days in there.
What do you want me to do about that?
Well, I had to spend the first night in a motel.
This wasn't the first time, was it?
No, it wasn't the first time.
Live with it. What's next?
Some of my clothing was missing.
Did you take any of his clothing?
The only thing I can figure out, I do have a Neil Diamond sweatshirt that I always wore when I was there, and I did find it in my laundry later.
He wants his Neil Diamond sweatshirt back. Give it to him. What else do you want?
I want the ring back, the engagement ring.
Where's the engagement ring?
Right here.
Give it to him. I should want it. Give it to him. Perfect. Good. Now you have it back. What else?
She took my dishes.
Are you kidding me or what?
No, she took my dishes.
Is she suing you for the gas that it took her to get to your house to find out that you were with somebody else?
Not so far.
What's next? What's next?
Just, she went to my computer address book and emailed all the people in there telling them what a rat I was.
You were.
I am.
What's next?
That's pretty much it outside.
Good, you got your ring back. Bye.
Okay.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yeah, this is case number 540 on the calendar in the matter of Lewis versus Yao Mangrobang. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Let's see.
Miss Lewis, I gather it was Miss Mangrobang who was your roommate in school. Is that right?
That is right, Your Honor.
And Mr. Yao is her boyfriend.
Yes, ma'am.
According to your complaint, they asked if they could borrow your car, use your car. You weren't using it because it didn't have insurance.
Yes, ma'am.
It's an old car.
It's a 1992 Chevrolet Lumina.
And it had about 166,000 miles on it. Is
Which
that right?
is not uncommon for a car of
Just
that
answer
age.
my question. Okay. So you told them that they could use the car as long as they insured it. They used it, and it is your claim that they ran it into the ground by not taking proper care of it, and you want to be compensated. In addition, you claim that when you complained, there was some interaction between the two of you. Miss Mangrobang said that she wanted to move out of the dorm, blamed you for causing her some discomfort, which caused you to be investigated by the university, because that's where you know each other from. So you want compensation for that because you feel as if she damaged your reputation. Miss Mangrobang and Mr. Yao say that you have embarked upon a campaign of harassing them, and they are counterclaiming.
That's correct.
All right, Miss Lewis, on what date did you loan them the car?
I loaned them the car and they began their insurance on it on October 10th.
Okay, when did you get the car back?
We had agreed that they would return the car on December 12th. However, they were refusing to return my property in a timely manner, and so...
Just a minute. Just answer. Let me run the shop.
Okay.
They were supposed to return it on 12/12. What date did they return it?
We confiscated it back on the 12th, the night of the 12th.
And what happened on the 13th?
Well, the night of the 12th, they drove off as soon as we came to claim the car. And as soon as I put my key in the ignition, you could hear this loud ticking noise as well as a grinding noise. And I tried to call them, and Rufan was not answering my cell phone call. I called Melanie, and I told her, please meet us back at the university. That's where I'm taking the car right now. We need to talk about this. And Scott and I stayed up until about 2:30 in the morning waiting for them, and they never showed.
Okay. What happened to her car?
Well, first of all, the car's condition...
Don't give me first of all.
Right.
What happened to her car? You drove it from October 10th
Mm-hmm.
and had it in your possession up until the 12th of December.
Right.
So I'm asking you, when did you start to have trouble with the car? Mechanically?
Mechanically, probably about 2-3 days before I returned the car to them.
Now, when you say you returned the car to them, was the car returned to them in the way that Miss Lewis has described?
She did pick up the car from my workplace.
So it was when she picked up the car. You started to have trouble with it 2 or 3 days before?
Right.
When did you call her and tell her that you were having trouble with the car?
The day that the car started having problems.
Well, what did you say to her?
I told her that the car's grinding noise, which I originally had when I borrowed the car, is getting a little bit louder, and that the engine isn't as powerful as it used to be.
Did you ever take the car in to be fixed, to be looked at by a mechanic?
No.
Why not?
At the time, I didn't have the time to go in because I worked every day.
Well, that's your responsibility, though. If you borrow somebody's property, you're supposed to take good care of it. If it starts to have a noise that it didn't have before, or the noise starts to get worse, then you're supposed to take the car in and be responsible with it. Take it to a mechanic.
Because the car already had the noise and the grinding sound, so that I figured it was an original problem. It was getting a little bit worse. And I used to have a car that sort of had a similar problem, and it was easily fixed, so I figured it was the same problem. I could have taken it over the weekend.
That's a nice excuse. Sir, what I'm telling you is, you borrowed this car, it was an old car, it had problems. There's no question about it that the car probably made a whole bunch of noises. But what you're telling me is that the car started to get worse.
Right.
And what you did was continue to drive it, hearing the noise getting a little bit louder and a little bit louder and a little bit louder, and you knew you had to return it back on December 12th anyway, so you didn't take it in to have it fixed, and that's irresponsible. Very irresponsible when you borrow somebody else's property. You got me?
Right.
Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I would suggest, Miss Mangrobang, that you think twice before hitching your star to his wagon. If that's the way he treats property, just think how he's going to treat your heart.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Nicolette Lewis says ex-roommate Melanie Mangrobang and her boyfriend, Rufan Yao, owe for damaging her car. Nicolette claims Rufan borrowed the vehicle and ran it into the ground.
You have a tape there you want to show me? What is it a tape of?
This is a tape of the engine and the inside of the car upon its return, or when we got it back.
What did it look like before? You have a picture of the before?
It's a tape recording of the engine itself, so you can hear the noises that were not present before.
You just said to me that it also contains the interior of the car.
Mm-hmm. Well, just the fact that he had kept it a mess. He wasn't
Well, I don't know what it looked like before.
Oh.
That's what I asked you.
Sorry.
Pay attention. I said, do you have pictures of what the car looked like before?
No, I do not.
Well, you want to tell me what it looked like before.
The interior of the car was fine. It wasn't vacuumed when I gave it to him, but there wasn't any trash laying around, and there weren't any spills or stains or burn marks.
Let me see.
badge just showing his general maintenance of the interior of the car. This is actually how we received the car back. This is just another shot.
Is that the sound you were hearing, Mr. Yao?
That's correct.
This is a lengthy coupon out of Goodwill to completely ruin the car.
What?
First of all, I'd like to add that I wasn't the only one driving the car during that period. In fact, Miss Lewis and her boyfriend drove it for about a week. And since...
When?
It was in October.
In October? Okay. Listen to me, Mr. Yao. You did not get the car making that noise because you wouldn't have taken a car that was making that noise. And once you heard that sound starting to escalate, it was your responsibility to either call her immediately and say, I'm returning it, or take it in and have it fixed. You didn't do that. You are responsible. Now, you want to tell me about the rest of your lawsuit with regard to bad name being bantied about the dormitory?
Yes, actually, the first words out of my mouth when I heard the sound in my car when I called Melanie the night of the 12th was, Melanie, I love you, your family. She's actually my second cousin. And I told her I don't want this to affect our relationship, but I have a problem with your boyfriend. In fact, I have a transcript of one of our conversations between myself and Mr. Yao in which he says, take it to court. I don't care. You still won't get a penny. And I was asking Melanie how she would let her boyfriend treat her family with such disrespect. And there was a little bit of tension.
That's a good question. You want to answer that question?
I didn't know we were family until December, I think Thanksgiving. No, she had called me during Thanksgiving saying, I'm staying with my aunt in California, and I showed her a picture, and I mentioned that your last name was Mangrobang, and her aunt said, oh, we're related to the Mangrobangs, and that's all.
What difference does it make? You were roommates.
Yes.
You mean you can treat family one way, but you treat non-family dishonorably?
No, I never treated her dishonorably.
He did. Why?
Well, the thing I have to address is that what she said is only after what I've tried to work out with her. I originally did agree to help her fix the car when they said, okay, they'll try to fix it. And then later on, they said after her boyfriend worked on the car, and the car entirely stopped working at all.
That car sounds like it's on its last leg. That car doesn't have any more life in it. You know,
No, the car was driving, and I mean, I got to places.
Listen to me. You're not supposed to use somebody else's property to the point where it is gasping for its last breath. What you're supposed to do if someone has entrusted you with their property is treat it better than you would treat your own. That's what you do.
And actually, I did.
No, you didn't, sir, because that car was not treated better than your own. And if that's the way you treat your property, I would suggest, Miss Mangrobang, that you think twice before hitching your star to his wagon. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. If that's the way he treats property, just think how he's going to treat your heart. Now, you want to get on with the story about your name in the dorm? Come on.
Okay.
She made a complaint. She wanted to move out of the dorm. She said that you were bothering her. Is that what happened?
Well, actually, I hadn't heard from Melanie in a few days.
Listen, get to the bottom line. Is that what happened? And then you had to go before a hearing board.
Yes.
Okay. And they found you not guilty of bothering her.
They said that this is an issue for the court, and they wanted to see how the court case comes on. But they said that if, in fact, I am found guilty of harassment, then they sat me down and went through all the procedures and what would happen if I was found for harassment. And
you didn't harass her?
I did not.
No, you didn't harass her. I don't think she harassed you. Did she harass you?
She just made it very uncomfortable to live with her.
Listen, you're very uncomfortable. You can get very uncomfortable if your underpants are too tight. Mm-hmm. Do you understand? That doesn't mean you file a complaint. You're a big girl. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you'll have a roommate that makes you comfortable. Sometimes you have a roommate that makes you uncomfortable. That doesn't mean that you file a complaint. Do you understand?
But, Your Honor, if her boyfriend, and I believe she was also in it, also threatened to kill me
Just a
personally.
second. Just a second. Not she. Boyfriend and father, according to you.
Well, she was also with him at the time, and I believe...
You cannot impugn to her actions of other people. She did not threaten to kill you. All she did was make your girlfriend, according to your girlfriend, uncomfortable, like a pair of 5 underpants when you're a 7.
Your Honor, I'm on a full honor scholarship at the university, and included in the scholarship is a room grant. And if I were to be found guilty of harassment, which I believe she claimed to get out of the room maliciously and without cause.
Okay, you made her uncomfortable.
Because I made her uncomfortable.
You made her uncomfortable.
And
she has a low threshold of pain.
I believe she maliciously filed that for the university to try to embarrass me and try to jeopardize.
I don't think she did that. I don't think she did that.
Your Honor, I don't think a note that says you mailed
just a second
would say that.
Yes.
I mean, it wouldn't mean that she is not harassing.
She's annoying her. She's uncomfortable.
And also,
pay careful attention to me, sir. Your girlfriend said to her, my boyfriend really needs a car. He's got to get to and from work. She had a car. She didn't charge you any money, did she?
No.
No, she was really nice to you. Why would somebody who's all of a sudden so nice to you let you take her car so that you could get to and from work all of a sudden become a monster? You think she drank some sort of a potion? No. You know what happened? You were disrespectful with her property. You treated it like crap, and she got annoyed. And when you refused to step up to the plate and take responsibility for not treating her property, I'm speaking. She may be afraid of you, I'm not. When you refused to step up to the plate, she got irritated. And she got irritated with you, and she got irritated with her roommate, who came to her and said, could my boyfriend please borrow your car because he did it? And she said yes. And then she didn't say to you, listen, Yao, you didn't treat my friend's car properly. You're going to have to help pay for it. She was disappointed.
Well,
so she wrote a nasty note. What do you want to say now?
Well, first of all, I did try to step up to the plate and try to make amends.
What did you do?
I offered to help fix the car. And then when her boyfriend took the car apart and said it's totaled and it can't be fixed, I told her to write up a list of what you want in your next car, and we'll work something out, and I'll try to find a car to that specification for you, and which I believe is reasonable because...
That's more than reasonable. So you were going to buy her another car?
I was saving up money to buy myself a car. That's why I had all the car magazines.
So you were going to buy her another car?
Right, with the money.
What?
He was going to buy himself a car, and he said that if I wanted, that I could go up, write up a notarized list of everything that I wanted in a car. And if I would notarize a list saying if he buys this, that I will dismiss any claims. And I said, oh, wow, so you're going to get me a new car? Great, that's what I need. He goes, yeah, and then afterward, we can compromise and figure out who owes how much of the car. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, I'm only going to pay what I feel responsible for. I'm like, well, how much are you thinking of doing? He's like, I don't know, we'll have to see. And so that sounds like he's trying to catch me in a trap again. And I went to Melanie, I said, how much is he going to put down? She's like, maybe like 100, possibly 2.
Well, $100, $200 is not going to buy her a set of wheels.
Your Honor, actually, I just found this car on the internet. It's the exact same car. It's actually in better condition. It has bumpers, rearview mirrors, $350.
May I speak?
Can I see the... No, I don't want to hear you.
I believe that the issue with the car is that...
I would also like to see the Kelley Blue Book, please.
When we saw the damage to the car, when we figured what it might have been, we said, hey, will you sponsor the cost of the parts if my boyfriend will do the labor, because he has worked as a mechanic before. And we estimated that if it was a problem with the oil pump, it would cost maybe $45 for a part and about half an hour of labor. But however, when he refused to tell me that the car was damaged in the beginning and he didn't park it, it caused the oil pump to blow, the camshaft, the lifters, the rockers, everything in the top end was gone, and you have to replace the entire motor, and I have an estimate for that, which would have costed about $4,039 to repair the car.
Your car's not worth more than $1,000.
Yeah, so
Listen to me.
I'm not
your car's not worth more than $1,000. This car, the Kelley Blue Book, is for $2,000 with 100,000 miles on it. Your car had almost 170,000 miles on it. Now, your case hasn't been resolved yet, has it, with the university?
They haven't pressed anything against me so far.
And they won't. Are you still in the dorm?
Yes, I am.
Wonderful. Very good. Take $1,000, go buy yourself a new car. Now, let's get to your counterclaim. You want to tell me very, very quickly what it is that you claim she did to you to harass you?
She just said a lot of things that made me not too happy living with her, like about my boyfriend, about the car situation, and like when we're watching television or something, and like, oh, there's Joe Millionaire, you know what that reminds me of? Oh, yeah, it reminds me of you, your boyfriend, like how those girls think that, you know, they're going to get this really nice guy and they're going to actually
She told me she thinks she's going to give an next Bill Gates.
And then, like when we watch TV or something, she'd constantly like say random like comments about my boyfriend and about this car situation when I wasn't involved. The original agreement was between her and my boyfriend.
Let me ask you this question, madam.
Yes.
You don't get compensated for being uncomfortable. All right? Do you understand? Okay. There's absolutely no case for harassment. The other thing that I have to ask you is, do you think that but for the fact that he was your boyfriend, she would have loaned him the car?
I don't think so, since they didn't know each other.
Right. So when you say you had nothing to do with the arrangement because it was just between the two of them, how can you say that? The only reason she got involved with this whole situation is because of you. They didn't know each other. So you were involved.
Oh, but the agreement about the payment and stuff and driving it.
They didn't know each other. She was doing you a favor. Do you understand? Good. And you did the wrong thing. In any event, I'm issuing a judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000, and I'm dismissing your counterclaim. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. This is case number 503 on the calendar in the matter of James Cahoot versus Cahoot. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Victoria, this is your father.
Yes.
Is that right? And Miss James, Victoria has been living in your house for the past 18 months?
Yeah, 19 now, I think.
Your lawsuit seeks support from Victoria's father for her over the last 18 months. The defendant says that his door has always been open to his daughter. She can come back and live with him whenever she wants to. And he provides for medical coverage for her. Some other things I assume that he's going to tell me, and he has no intention of paying you for support because his daughter should be living at his house. Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Victoria, how old were you when you left home?
15 and a half, maybe 16.
And where did you go?
My friend Amanda's house in Grants Pass, and I lived there for about a month, and then I moved in with Perry. And I lived there for about 4 months, and then I moved in with Alicia James.
Why did you leave home?
My dad was abusive. He was always drunk, and I just couldn't handle it anymore. He would throw me out of the house and kick me out. He kicked me out and said that he didn't want me living in his house anymore.
What did you have to fight about? You must have had a fight about something.
Everything. My friends, school, me going out, everything.
Your parents are divorced, is that right?
Yes.
How long have your parents been divorced?
Since I was 1.
And were you always in the custody of your father?
No, I lived with my mother, and then at age 4, my dad had temporary custody for I think about 4 months. And then I moved back in with my mother, and I moved out when I was almost 13 and moved to Oregon to be with my father.
So what prompted you to move in with your father when you were 13?
I never really lived with him. I wanted to know what he was like.
You have siblings?
Yes, 1 brother.
How old?
23.
Okay. Now, when you left the first time and you went to your friend Amanda's house, did you stay in contact with your father?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You knew she was living with Amanda?
I knew she was living somewhere, and I just wanted to make sure she was safe, so...
Did you know she was living with Amanda?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did you take any steps to have your daughter return to your house, legal steps at that time? The answer is either yes or no.
Yes.
What did you do?
I called the local police and had her listed as a runaway.
No, that doesn't try to get her back. All that does is cover you behind. When you try to get her back, you say, I want my daughter back. And you go to court, and you bring Amanda's parents to court, and you say, listen, you're interfering with my parental responsibility and my parental rights to have my daughter living with me. I want this thing resolved. And reporting a child as a runaway when you know where she lives is ridiculous. All right, now the next place she went to the... Did you tell your father where you were when you were at the... You were there for 4 months.
Yes.
Now, Miss James, what prompted you to allow this young lady to come and move into your house?
Perry had asked me if I could take the older two, which would have been Vicki and Karen, with the younger two, my daughter and his daughter, all take them shopping for school. And I said, yeah. So we took them all. I took them all. The girls got in an altercation, and Vicki could no longer stay with them. So I asked Vicki, I says, well, what are you going to do? She goes, I don't know. I don't have a place to go. And I says, well, you can't stay with me unless I talk to your father. So she agreed to that, and immediately, right then, after the altercation, and she found out she couldn't be there, I went over to Mr. Cahoot's house. And I asked him the situation that was going on between him and his daughter, you know, told him what had happened. He told me under no circumstance was his daughter going to live with him, that he was not allowing her back in the home.
Why?
He told me that she was out of control, so on and so forth. Just, you know, basically a bad kid. I said, well, I don't know what to do here. I said that I agreed that she could stay with me. I agreed that she could stay with me, but I couldn't afford to support her because I could barely afford to support myself and my daughter, and that he would have to, you know, help out with food and clothing and, you know, medical and stuff like that. He agreed to do so, and he did. He helped for about the first 3 months.
What did he do for the first 3 months?
He made sure that he bought Vicki a few items of clothing, nothing major to start school with. He helped out with food.
How did he help out with the food? Did he buy food or did he give you money?
He bought food, and he had food at his house, and extra food, and so he would bring it over.
But he didn't give you a set amount of money?
No.
Go ahead.
So anyway, and then on or about September 21st, I had Victoria and her father and me sign an agreement of the rules that we would be living in the home, and I do have a copy of that.
I'd like to see it, please. Would you show this to the defendant and ask him to look at it and tell me if that is his signature, which I have compared to the answer?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That is your signature witnessing, as witness to the agreement between these two ladies, the rules of the house.
Yes, ma'am.
And Vicki has been living with you ever since.
Yes, the agreement, part of the other agreement was, Your Honor, that Victoria's grades would be kept up in school.
Well, that's right here. C's are better.
Yep.
Have you been doing that?
Here's a copy of her grades and an honorable mention in our newspaper for this first quarter's.
How was your daughter doing in school when she was living with you, sir?
Not well. I sent her to another school, and she seems to have done better. I sent her to a lockdown adolescent.
When did you do that?
2000.
Well, evidently that didn't work out either.
It cost $28,000 to get her in there, and I did through all the therapies and everything I could with her. She was out of control. She was listed as a runaway more often than not.
Something wasn't right, sir. But evidently, whatever it was that wasn't right is better now that she's living with the plaintiff.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She's finally learned her lessons and decided she can't be a thug that smokes, drinks, and stays out with the boys, have sex with the boys in my room, and leaves the evidence behind for me to clean up.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 18-year-old Victoria Cahoot says her father, David Cahoot, owes for the cost of her living expenses. David says Victoria should be living at home.
Whatever it was, it seems to have been resolved with her living with the plaintiff. Have you seen a copy of your daughter's grades?
Yes, I have, and that's just a recent thing, ma'am.
Recent or not, it appears to me that living with the plaintiff seems to have resolved, at least temporarily and hopefully permanently, the problems that your daughter was having, at least scholastically. Wouldn't you say that that's true, sir?
I would not say that living with her has caused all this to be the success. I think finally it's Victoria that has finally come around, and with all the school that cost me so much, she's finally learned her lessons and decided she can't be a thug that smokes, drinks, and stays out with the boys, have sex with the boys in my room, and leaves the evidence behind for me to clean up.
Sir, usually when children act out very badly, they're trying to make a statement. Now, that's not to say that she should not be responsible for what she does. She is responsible. What I'm looking for you to do is to take responsibility for what you and your ex-wife have done to her. Because if you think that it's a normal arrangement for a child to live with one parent, then go to the other. Go back to one parent, then go to the other. That is not a normal arrangement, sir. And I don't know whether, and I'm certainly not going to get into the fact with you or your daughter, because I think it's counterproductive as to whether what she says is true, that you have an alcohol abuse problem.
No, ma'am, I do not.
Well, I said I'm not getting into that, because just as I don't think it's productive for you to have brought up to me, now with your daughter here, the negatives of her past behavior, so too, sir, do I think that it would be stupid for me to explore whether she was right or wrong in saying that you had a substance abuse problem. Do you understand? And were abusive to her. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, the only issue that I have to resolve in this case is whether your daughter was living with Mrs. James with your permission. Your answer says she was not living there with your permission, that your home was always open to her.
Yes, ma'am.
And therefore, you are not liable for her support. The contract that you witnessed in October of 2001, which outlined the rules for your daughter remaining in Mrs. James's home, is testament to the fact that your daughter was living there with your permission and approval. That being the case, sir, you are responsible for her support. Period. End of discussion. The only issue is how much. Put your hand down, madam. Do you get support for your daughter from her mother?
No longer, ma'am.
When did it stop?
On her 18th birthday.
Which was when?
18 February.
So from the time she came to Mrs. James's home for the last 19 months, or 18 months, you were getting support from Vicky's mother for her. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
In what amount?
$275 a month.
What were you doing collecting support for her when she wasn't living with you?
I maintain a home for her.
No, sir. I'm already telling you. You permitted her to live with Mrs. James with your not only tacit approval, with your active approval in witnessing this agreement. You said, keep her. She's too much trouble for me. I'm giving you my permission to keep her. I'm witnessing the agreement that you two are signing to permit her to live in your house. That doesn't mean she's living there without your permission. Your door is open. You may have spoken to a lawyer who said to you, listen, as long as you can convince a judge that your door is always open and that all she has to do is abide by your rules, you're not responsible for her support. That's not the case here, sir. She lived outside your home with your permission, and you're responsible for her support. Not only that, would you be responsible for her support, but you're getting support from her mother for her and keeping it. You can't do that. $4,950 so far. Next, did you claim her on your tax returns last year?
Yes, ma'am.
She wasn't living with you for the full year.
She was living with me 6 months.
So you took advantage of her status as a minor child without any of the downside, which means that you kept her mother's money, the $275, you claimed her on your tax returns. You didn't do the right thing, sir.
And I provided the medical for her, which is not inexpensive.
Just a second.
I provided medical, and I still do.
How much? Just a second. How much does it cost you to provide medical coverage for your daughter?
Because I'm a retired military officer.
Yes.
We get it for the entire family for $460 a quarter, which is full coverage.
Just a second. $460 a quarter for the entire family. That's you and who else?
Her.
$1,840 a year. Now, what is an individual plan?
They charge me $90 for a quarter.
Show me.
I don't think I have that down here. I just have where I have her on here. And I have my medical bills I spent during that time on her.
Good.
Because I did cover her.
Good.
The bills where I covered her, you would like to see them, ma'am?
No. Did you spend more than $5,000?
A year? No, ma'am.
No.
Close to, well, a year. With Victoria and all, it was about $800 for a year. Total.
$800 you spent.
Plus, ma'am, earlier though, on this, when I had sent her this, this adolescent treatment team there in Reno, which she was diagnosed with oppositional defiance disorder, and a very big handful, and I did my best, Your Honor, to do what I could. I went to family psychology meetings with her, and everything. She asked me to quit my job. I did.
Listen to me, sir. What I'm saying to you is your daughter seems to be doing fine. And what I'm saying to you is we're talking about money. And so far, your ex-wife contributed to you almost $5,000 in support for your daughter who wasn't living with you. Now, let us assume that each of you have a 50% responsibility to support your child. That means you would pay $5,000 and your ex-wife would pay $5,000. And so far, you've told me that in a year, you spent $800 on your daughter, which, even if you had no obligation to pay support for her, which you do, still leaves $3,500 that you wound up in profit. Profit. From what your ex-wife sent to you for the support of your child that you didn't turn over to her.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Go ahead, I'm listening.
I paid $200 a month to have someone pick Victoria up while I was working for the post office to take her into school every day, and I picked her up when I got off work in the middle of my night, so to speak, because I work nights at there. She requested that. She said, Dad, everything will be great if you quit your job.
You're talking about when she was living with you?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't care when she was living with you. That's what you do. You're her parent. You do whatever you have to do. I'm talking about between you and a stranger. Did you pick her up, pay $200 a month for somebody else to pick her up from school when she was living with Mrs. James?
She rides the bus.
I'm asking you a question.
No.
I don't care what you spent on her. I don't care if you spent the last dime that you had in the bank. She's your child. That's what you're supposed to do. I'm talking about when she was living with Mrs. James.
Anytime she called me and says, Dad, I need something, she got it.
You took money designated for her by the courts and sent to you by her mother and used it for yourself, sir. That's what you did. That is not permissible. That goes to her. That's for her support, not to divert some of your own expenses.
Ma'am, I was attempting to be a parent, and Ms. James was not allowing me to be a parent.
Then what were you doing signing this document?
I was trying to make my child safe. If she's going to run around, I at least want to know where she's at, with whom she's with.
Then you know, then she's there with your permission.
She still has a bedroom there and a bed in there to go into.
Let me explain something to you. You can't double talk me, sir.
No, ma'am, it's the truth.
No, you're double talking me. You went there. You understood where your daughter was living. It has been a good arrangement for your daughter. Clearly, it has been a good arrangement for her. And your responsibility as a parent is to see to it that your daughter is supported. Now, I'm not even getting into what your individual responsibility would be for her support. But minimally, the money that her mother sent to you, court-ordered, for support, should have gone to Mrs. James. And I'm not belaboring the point, and that's $4,590, sir. That you had no right to take from your daughter. You had no right to take from Mrs. James. You had an obligation to turn it over to her immediately. And if you don't understand that, I'm not spending any more time, wasting my time trying to explain it to you. You had no right to take her money. Period. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,590. That's all. $950. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Now, this is case number 574 on the calendar in the matter of Klein versus Collier. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Ms. Klein, the defendant is your former fiancé who you claim owes you for a car loan.
Yes.
A loan which was taken out in your name. He signed a note, according to you. Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
He was paying the note, I assume, for a period of time, and then
Yes,
when
he
you
did.
broke up, he stopped paying the car loan. You want that. In addition, you want some miscellaneous expenses that you had to incur in order to get him out of your apartment. The defendant, Mr. Collier, says that you have the engagement ring worth $3,000, you have his motorcycle worth some more money, and that you agreed that when you separated, it would be sort of a clean slate and there wouldn't be any debts. Is that your defense, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So let's start with the car loan. You acknowledge the loan.
Yes.
How much is left on the loan?
$4,800 and some change.
Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. So you tell me, Mr. Collier, why you believe you are not responsible for this loan.
Well, I felt, Mrs. Judge Judy, that when we got engaged February 8th and that everything was going good, and that Wednesday, for some reason, she starts freaking out, calling my gym, seeing if I'm at the gym or not. And so I come home and say, what's going on? She goes, I just want to believe that you really love me. And I said, well, Christine, why did you take the ring and start acting like this? Then that Thursday, she went through my cell phone bill, called a couple of friends, asked if we had sexual relationships. And, you know, they said no. One told her yeah, and said that, you know, we did 3 times, and I tried to tell her we didn't. I don't, you know, and the girl goes to my gym. So then I said, you know, we can't do this anymore. Let's get our own, I'll get my own apartment, I'll move out. She agreed with that. She actually was going to sign for me to get the apartment because we didn't know if I would be able to get it in my name. We went out and looked that day. They turned me down when they saw my credit. Then we went through another week.
And were you still living together?
Yeah, we're still together. She asked me to stay away from home as much as I can. So I said, okay, no problem. I would stay at the gym as long as I could. Come home, I was sleeping on the sofa. So then we went through that week. The 21st came up. We went to a Laker game together. Having fun, drinking. Everything was going good still. I think, okay, I'll get my own apartment. We'll try to make it work. If we can't, we can't. That Saturday, we both get up to go to the gym. She goes to her gym, I go to my gym. She goes, are you going to take the dogs for a walk? I said, yeah, I am. She goes, well, I'll go with you guys. We went for a walk. I went off to the gym. I said, I'll be home at 12. We'll go look for an apartment. I get home. There was 2 officers there with my stuff outside. I didn't know what to say. And I just stood there. And then they said, you have an hour to get it out of here. And then when we talked about me moving in the first place.
Don't go back. Don't go backwards.
Okay. Well,
Mr. Collier, don't go backwards. Just go forwards.
Okay.
So we are now, your stuff is in a U-Haul.
Right.
Okay, good. Where's the engagement ring?
I exchanged it for earrings because it was on my credit card. I was solely responsible to pay for it.
It was on my credit card. I have the receipt right here, ma'am.
Yeah, but it's under my name. I'm paying for it. And he actually had the nerve to ask for me to give him the ring back so he could pawn it for money to move out. So I'll pay for my ring twice.
One second. He signed for it.
Right, because he had a credit card on my account. My mistake.
Is this her credit card, sir?
It was, well, I was on there, yes.
This is her credit card.
It's, yeah.
Shh, listen to me. I have a question for you, Mr.
Okay, go
Shh.
ahead.
It's her credit card. She gave you an additional card as an additional card holder.
Right.
When was the engagement ring purchased?
February 8th.
March 1st. Did you make a payment on the credit card?
No, I didn't.
There you go. Who did you expect to pay the credit card bill?
Well, I was going to pay the credit. Christine.
But you didn't.
But Judy.
So right now, so listen to me, sir.
Okay.
Your defense to this $4,800 car loan is that she kept the engagement ring. That's
Right.
one. But she's paying for the engagement ring.
Right.
You're not.
Right.
So you don't get a credit for that, sir.
But
You
we
understand?
took-
You don't get a credit for the thought. You get a credit for the money. It was nice of you to buy it, but you also have to pay for it. You didn't pay for it, you don't get it back. Clear?
Yes.
What's the next thing? The next thing you wrote down here is you shouldn't have to pay for something because she has your motorcycle. Tell me about the motorcycle.
Motorcycle, she signed for it. For 4 months, I made payments on the bike.
Hold on.
And insurance.
Hold on a second. Motorcycle, purchased when?
10/12, 2002.
How much was it purchased for?
With tax and license, I don't know, 13, 12, something.
$13, $12 or
$1,000.
Let's say $12,000.
12,000.
She took out the loan for it.
She didn't take out any loans on it. She just signed for it. I paid all the payments on it.
Shh, listen to me carefully. You made 4 payments on it, you said.
Yes.
Shh, listen to me carefully. Shh. I want you to be quiet. Okay. Trying to get a point across to him. You made 4 payments on it.
Yes.
Each payment was how much?
$250 plus with insurance.
I'm just talking about the payments.
$200
okay?
for the payments.
$200 for the payments. So you made a total of $800. Miss Klein, I want you to be quiet. I want you to stand still and just be quiet. So you made $800 in payments.
Yes.
On a $12,000 motorcycle.
Right.
She has the motorcycle.
Yeah, I don't know where it is now.
She has it.
Yes.
You don't know where it is.
No.
You don't have it.
No.
Who is obligated to pay the $12,000 for the bicycle, you or Miss Klein?
Miss Klein.
So she has back the ring, which she made into earrings. She doesn't want your ring, but she's paying for it. So that's not a credit towards the $4,800 you owe her for the car. She has the motorcycle, which she is obligated to pay $12,000 for because she signed for it, and you made 4 payments of $200 each, and I assume you drove the motorcycle for 4 months. Is that right?
Well, when it was nice out.
I don't care whether you drove it in the rain or in a blizzard, sir.
Well,
you had it.
I rode it.
You had it. You rode it. You used it. You paid $200 a month for the use of it, right? Forget it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She changed her mind.
She changed her mind. But then she files this claim saying that
second.
she asked me for the money.
She changed her mind, sir. She decided that you weren't as good as she thought you were.
And later today,
She was a friend of yours, and she said, you can come and stay in my house, take care of my dog. While you were there, babysitting for the house and the dog ate your dentures.
Yes.
Right?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Christine Klein says ex-fiancé Ricky Collier owes for an unpaid car loan. She also says she's keeping the engagement ring because she's the one who paid for it.
Mr. Collier, why else don't you owe her for the car loan, sir?
Because we had an agreement that if I go on my own, she knew that I couldn't afford an apartment on my own, that she would take the loss on all the bills that we had together.
Why would she do that for you?
But that's what she said. And I said, are you sure you want to do that, Christine? She said, yes, I'll get another loan to pay off everything. That's what she said to me.
Well, why would somebody want to do that for you, Mr. Collier?
Judge Judy, that's what she said to me. I talked to her and I said, Christine, are you sure you want to do that?
She changed her mind.
She changed her mind. I totally
That's
understand
what women do. That's what women do. They change their mind.
I understand that.
She decided you weren't as good as she thought. I'm speaking.
But then she files this claim saying that
second.
she asked me for the money. And
Listen to me.
we haven't talked since the 21st.
Mr. Collier, didn't you notice my mouth moving, sir?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Judge Judy.
She changed her mind, sir. She decided that you weren't as good as she thought you were. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
She wants her money back. Ms. Klein, I know that you want to get into how you had to get bodyguards and hire people to get him out of your apartment. That's not my problem. Don't visit it on me. Visit on me only the fact that he owes you $4,800 for the car. Now, you both agree that that's what's left on the loan? Is that right?
Yes.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,800. Thank you very much. Go have a happy life.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm clueless as to why he's clueless, as to why he was kicked out when he was abusing me back since July of last year.
She probably felt like I was going to get angry if she kicked me out.
He's a master manipulator and an abuser, and I fell into the trap.
Because I have the tendency to get angry.
I'm just glad to be free and away from him at this point.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Romine versus Gauthier. Step forward, please.
Child care provider Karen Romine is suing her former friend, realtor Dolores Gauthier, for the cost of her dentures. Karen says, while pet sitting for Dolores, her dog ate them.
Miss Romaine, you were house sitting for the defendant and pet sitting, is that right?
Yes, I was.
Had you done that before?
No.
Were you doing it as a neighbor, as a friend, or were you being paid?
As a friend. I think she was trying to get me out of the house where my daughter and I were sharing a house, and I have 4 grandkids then. Kind of for sanity ways.
And what?
For my own mental.
For your sanity. So she was a friend of yours, and she said, you can come and stay in my house, take care of my dog, take care of my house while I'm on vacation, give you a little bit of a break. Is that right?
Yes.
And your complaint is that while you were there babysitting for the house and the dog ate your dentures.
Yes.
Right? Shh. And these dentures you had placed up on counter.
Yes.
Dog jumped up and chewed them. Right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Romaine, whose fault is that?
I guess it could be mine. I thought the counter was high enough where the dog couldn't reach him.
When you say, I guess it could be mine, she was on vacation, right?
Yes.
So it couldn't be hers. You can't sue the dog. So what are we doing here?
Well, I thought it would be her responsibility since I was watching the dog. Yeah, and
No, you're supposed to take responsibility for your own actions. Mr. Romaine, he answered right the first time, which is what surprised me about your lawsuit to begin with. She's on vacation. You agree to watch the dog. You're watching the dog, and you were supposed to watch and take care of your own property. The fact that you miscalculated and let the dog get a hold of your property and destroyed it doesn't make her responsible. Makes you responsible. So you got to take care of your own business, right?
You're right.
Perfect. Good. Then we don't have to bother each other any further. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It went well?
It was quick.
I came home from vacation and she showed me a baggie with her teeth in them.
Your dog ate my teeth.
Well, I felt bad, but I felt she was negligent.
We're still friends.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Montgomery versus McCarthy, step forward, please.
25-year-old student Brandy Montgomery is suing small business owner Caitlin McCarthy for having her falsely arrested. Caitlin says Brandy charged at her swinging a keychain.
Well, quite frankly, I read both your complaint and answer in this case, and I really am quite confused. The best I can come up with is that, Miss Montgomery, it is your claim that the defendant filed a false police report and had you arrested for assault. Yes. Those charges were ultimately dismissed. You say they were false to begin with. Ms. McCarthy says that you did, in fact, hit her with a set of keys. Is that
Yes.
right? Mm-hmm. How do you know each other? I couldn't even figure that out from the papers.
Ma'am, her friend was my roommate, and that's how we met.
Now, you say it was a friend of your roommate. Who's your roommate?
Our roommate was Dakota. Her name was Dakota.
She lived with you and your husband?
Yes, ma'am.
Until when?
That day she was moving out was that day. The reason she was moving out is because we were not getting along. So she had decided to move out, and we were moving out a couple days after that.
Go ahead.
I had met her once when I first moved in with Dakota, which was the roommate, and then again on the day of the incident.
All right, well, I'd like you to tell me your version of what happened on the day of the incident, which was when?
It was on July 28th. I have a police report right here. Would you like?
I'd like to see it. Come on, start talking.
Sorry. My husband and I got home from picking him up from work. We go downstairs to where we live, which is like a two-story condo type place. We go downstairs. I decide to go to the store, so I go back up. So I go upstairs. I saw the defendant in the driveway. I walk past her. I do not say any words to her. I get in my car. I drive away. I go to the store. I come back from the store, and there's sheriffs. There's about 4 sheriff cars in the driveway. I park my car, walk towards my driveway. I get arrested.
And that's all you know?
That's all I know.
Charged at her swinging a keychain.
All right, Miss McCarthy, now I'll hear you.
Judge, I didn't know either Dakota except for that day. I have never met the plaintiff before the day of incident. I was asked by a friend to come and help her move. She said she needed to move very quickly because there was some back rent due. The landlord wanted the money and she didn't have it.
Who's the friend?
The friend is Beverly. She lives in Nevada, but she had introduced us.
Beverly, but nobody connected with the plaintiff?
No, I don't know any of these people.
Beverly is somebody that is not involved in this case other than the fact that Beverly asked you to go and move Dakota.
Correct. That's correct.
So you were actually in the plaintiff's apartment,
yes, ma'am,
helping Dakota move?
Yes.
Oh, well, now I understand.
Yes.
Go ahead.
We had moved for a couple of hours, been packing boxes. In fact, the plaintiff did come with her husband back to the house while we were moving. So I'm helping her move, and I was in the kitchen, I was packing things, kitchen items, and Brandy walked in with her husband. They were very agitated, started to go through boxes, opening them to see what was in them. I thought, well, she might be afraid that something was being taken, right?
Right.
She came over to me where I was packing, and she bumped into me, knocked me into the box that I was packing. She was very aggressive, and she opened up the box, started to dig through.
Did you say anything to her? Did she say anything to you?
Not a thing. She didn't even say, I'm Brandy. She didn't say anything. She just did this act. I saw the agitation. I was in damage control. I thought, I don't know what's going on with these two, but I'm just going to let her look. I did. She went out, went away. A few minutes later, I went out to the garage. I went to get another box. Upon returning...
And you were doing this as a favor to Beverly?
Yes.
Why?
Yes. Well, she's a very good friend of mine, and I just...
And how did she know Dakota?
I have no idea how they met, but I had something to do with their work. And she didn't have anybody there. That was the thing. She had no family, no friends. She hadn't been there very long. And so Beverly said, this girl needs help. She needs to move out today because she had surrendered the property to the landlords for non-payment. So I went over to help. She had hired some other help as well. So we were all moving, and this incident took place. I went out to the garage. I came back from the garage with a box in my hand, and Brandy stood in front of me, blocking my path to the kitchen. I didn't know what her reason to confront me was, since I didn't know her or what was going on.
Did you say anything to her?
I didn't say anything to her first. She said something to me.
What did she say?
Well, she was swinging her keys, and she had a hand on her hip and was very agitated with me, and I didn't know why. And she said, I'm not moving, and there's not a thing you can do about it. I don't know why that would matter to me, whether she moved or didn't. I was there to help Dakota get out, and I didn't know what all these incidences were between them. I said to her, well, whatever, but you need to let me pass so we can move. I went ahead and started to move, and she was swinging her keys. She advanced on me, and the key came right to my face as she was swinging it. All I did was pull my face back, and it just grazed my chin. I decided that was pretty aggressive for me. I didn't know whether, it was going to escalate.
Aggressive?
So I went and I called the police on my cell phone.
Okay, back to you.
These are the keys, ma'am. If I swung these keys around and hit somebody with them, they would leave a pretty giant mark.
Not necessarily. I believe her. I have to make a judgment.
Correct.
She tells a very simplistic story. Can you think of a reason, Miss Montgomery, that Miss McCarthy, you didn't know her, according to both of you? Think of a reason why she would call the police on you.
She knew that Dakota and I had gotten into it, and the police had already been out to the house 2 prior times between me and my roommate. Yes. And the police had told us that if they came out again, that somebody would be arrested. So I believe that she did it in spite to get me arrested, to prove a point to me, because my roommate said I owed her money for back rent.
What did she have to do with that?
Ma'am, I did not swing keys.
Yes, you did. Sure you did.
Yes, you did.
Sure you did. You were angry. You had a fight. You didn't know who she was. She was helping your roommate. You swung keys. You didn't injure her. You didn't hurt her, but you had an absolute right to call the police. Grow up. Case dismissed.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Now, this is case number 546 on the calendar in the matter of Newsom versus Harris. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Stand over there, please. Your last name is what?
Crispin, C-R-I-S-P-I-N.
Mr. Crispin, I think that you're an integral part of this case, which is why I asked you to stand up with Miss Harris. Uncross your arms, please. Miss Newsom, I'm going to try to set up what I believe is the family tree here so that we all understand it. You have a child who is 7 years old.
Correct.
Mr. Crispin, I assume, is the father of that child.
Correct.
Miss Harris is his current girlfriend. Is that right?
That's correct.
Do you have any children together?
No, we do not.
It is your claim that Miss Harris called you around holiday time last year and asked if you would do them a favor. Mr. Crispin wanted to take the child that you share, your son, to visit his family over the holidays. And Miss Harris was calling to find out if you would rent a car using your credit card so that he could take Miss Harris, I assume, or not Miss Harris, just your son and himself to visit his family over the holidays. Miss Harris was doing that because she wanted to make him happy.
Probably.
And she said they didn't have a credit card. Would you rent the car in your name and she would pay you?
Correct.
And she even gave you a check for $250 for the deposit.
Correct.
And you said?
Well, I told her that I would go on and rent the car based on the fact that she asked me, not because of him, and plus because of my son.
Okay. Now, did you get along with Miss Harris?
Yes.
Excuse me, Judge.
What?
Do me a favor. Take your hands out of your pants, please.
How should I be standing
Just
like
stand
this?
with your hand. Just stand with your hands to your side.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Bert. You get along with Miss Harris?
Yeah, she was cool. We was pleasant. I got
And when
along.
your son goes to visit,
exactly,
she's nice to him.
She
so you got
called
along.
and checked up to see how he was doing and everything. Exactly.
Good. Perfect. But I assume you don't get along with Mr. Crispin that well.
No, I do not.
Okay. So you said you would rent the car for her.
Exactly.
Now, how did she get this check to you?
Well, we met up at Key Bank, and she gave me the check. Deposited it into my account.
And then where did you go?
Then we went to the rental car place at the airport.
And on what date did you rent the car?
It was Christmas Eve, December 24th.
So what happened next?
After we rented the car, I got insurance on the car because I knew that I was not going to be the one driving the car, that he was, because my car insurance paid for rental cars. So we rode up the street off Seltzer Road. We exchanged. I gave him.
Did they have him listed as a driver?
No, they didn't. No.
Why not?
Because we
Don't
didn't
they
set it
usually
up.
do that?
That's the way it's supposed to be done.
That's the way it's supposed to be done. But we didn't do it that way.
So you did it the wrong way?
Yes.
In the contract that you signed, didn't they say, are you the only driver?
Well, they asked was I the only driver.
And you wrote down yes. So what happened next?
After we departed ways, went home, and I rented the car for a week. Just in case he didn't make it back due to traffic or the weather or whatever. I rented the car for a week. And April had agreed when she gave me the check for the $250, she had agreed that she would hook up with me Friday so she could give me the rest of the money on the rental car.
How much was the entire rental car?
The entire rental car for the week was like $431.
Okay.
Okay. So I called her Thursday. And I said, April, are we going to meet up Friday? And she was like, well, I have a meeting at my job, so let's do it Saturday. I said, what time? I said, I'll base my schedule around yours. She said, around 12. I said, okay, fine. I gave her till 1:06. Called the house. She did not answer the phone. So then I said, okay. So then I called back later. I said, April, she answered the phone. I was like, April, what's going on? Are you going to meet me to get the money? Well, Jeffrey's not back. I said, what does Jeffrey being back have to do with you giving me the money for the car? She said, well, I can't get to the bank. I said, well, April, he has the rental car. He doesn't have your car, so he's not going to be using your car. He's out of town. And she said, well, I have to wait till Jeffrey get back. I said, okay, fine. I said, well, you know that the car is supposed to have been turned back today. And I said, if the car goes any longer, you're going to be responsible for paying those extra days. She said, well, I know, but I'm not. She said, I don't have an ATM card, and I need to go to the bank, but I can't go to the bank until Monday because I don't have an ATM card.
Did she ever give you the money?
No, she didn't.
What happened with the $250 check?
Well, she gave me the check for the $250. I deposited it into my account. A few days later, I received a letter from my bank, which is right here, stating, please find and close a copy of the 12/24/2002 deposit of $250, which has been returned unpaid due to the account is closed. As a result, we have deducted this amount from your account along with a $20 return deposit fee.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Pay no attention to what he's saying to you, madam. I want you to understand this. You don't want me to make you look foolish, do you? You know I have that capacity to do that if you're lying to me.
And later today,
Why in the world, Mr. Peterson, would you come to court and say, I, in effect, committed statutory rape, and I'm here to ask her for rent?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. LaVonda Newsom claims her ex-boyfriend's current girlfriend, April Harris, owes for a loan to rent a car. April says LaVonda should be suing her ex.
Okay. Okay, Miss Harris. I know there are a couple of other smaller issues with regard to gas in the car and that sort of stuff, but I would like to hear your version of these events, madam.
Okay. Granted, she was called to ask to rent the car for Jeffrey. Okay. She told me that she needed an extra $250 to show for a deposit in the...
Now, just a second. She called you? Or
she had informed me when she was calling the rental car companies.
I want to know how you got to the rental car company. Did you call her and ask her to rent this car?
I just said that.
Well,
I said after I
slower.
spoke to her. Okay.
Let's go a little slower.
I called her.
You called her for what purpose?
To see if she would help me rent Jeffrey a car. Jeffrey was wanting to go home to Alabama for Christmas. She had told me that the amount of the rental required a $250 deposit. I told her that I would give her a check for $250. However, that check will not clear my bank. She said that was fine. I told her, and she did know, that if it's a deposit, that she would get the deposit back for the rental.
Why didn't you rent a car for Jeffrey?
My credit card was maxed out at the time. It was Christmas. And this was a
So,
last
Miss
minute
Harris,
thing.
listen to me carefully.
I'm listening.
So, Miss Newsom is correct when she says that you called and asked to rent a car for your boyfriend using her credit card because you couldn't use yours. This was going to be a gift for him from you, right?
For the both.
I didn't ask you a thing.
Actually,
this was going to be a gift from you for Jeffrey.
Yes.
However,
sir, ma'am, I do apologize for that, Your Honor.
Just a second.
Per my understanding.
Don't tell me what your understanding was. Don't pay no attention to what he's saying to you, madam. I want you to understand this. You don't want me to make you look foolish, do you? You know I have that capacity to do that if you're lying to me. You understand that?
Yes.
You don't want to look foolish in front of a whole bunch of people, including Bird. So you called her and said, I want to rent a car for Jeffrey as a gift for him, but I don't have a credit card. Can we use yours? Which is pretty much what she said. Is that right?
Not in the same language that you just
I don't
spoke
care
back
what
in
language it was. That was the
if you want me to tell
understanding.
you what happened, then I would be more than happy to tell you my side. But that would require me speaking.
Around Christmas, according to your answer that you swore to, Miss Newsom, that's her, wanted to rent a car for the holidays but lacked the $250 deposit. That's what you swore to in your answer, but that wasn't true. You called her to rent a car for him.
Per my understanding, they had already spoke about renting a car to go down there.
True. And she already
She needed
knew.
an extra $250 deposit.
She knew about
No,
the checking and everything.
No.
She knew.
I didn't speak to you.
Well, the truth ain't been told here.
Did you hear me? I didn't speak to you.
I understand that.
Good, then sit down.
I'll do so. I'm tired of standing.
Good. I know, you probably work very hard.
I do.
No, he don't.
I do.
You do?
He don't.
Really? How much child support does he pay?
He doesn't pay me. He's been sworn.
You need to check the mail.
Okay, question. I'm going to answer your question. 0. How much? 0.
Could take some of his gold, maybe we can sell it.
Exactly.
Listen! Your answer, Miss Harris, says she wanted to rent a car but lacked $250. Now, what doesn't make sense is for her to want to do something nice for Jeffrey. Do you understand? I don't even know Jeffrey, and I wouldn't want to do anything nice for him for Christmas.
Exactly.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. LaVonda Newsom claims her ex-boyfriend's current girlfriend, April Harris, owes for a loan to rent a car. April says LaVonda should be suing her ex.
Did he have a good time over the holiday?
I don't think so. I don't know.
You don't live together anymore?
Yes, we still do.
So when he came back, you didn't say to him, honey, did you have a good time?
No, because all of this was just too much drama filled. In other words, I was trying to do a good deed, and I'm the one who got snipped in the butt.
A good deed for whom?
For him, and per my understanding for her, because her daughter was going away with her father for Christmas, so she was going, Quavon was going with her, with Jeffrey. So basically, all in the matter is to settle things, to make everything just copacetic for Christmas. Her daughter's going to be with her father. Quavon would have been with Jeffrey. She would have been on for Christmas. I would have been on for Christmas. The check was given. She was aware of that, okay?
I'm talking about who called whom. You called her.
They called
and
both.
according to you, said to her, would you do this for me because I don't have a credit card that I can use? That's what you said to her.
Pretty much, because she was calling wanting to know if Jeffrey would be able to take their son, or is Jeffrey still going to take their son to Alabama?
Exactly.
And I said, I'm not sure yet, because Jeffrey, until the last moment, did not say he really wanted to go until Christmas Eve.
But you had made the arrangement before Christmas Eve to rent the car for him, is that right?
Not with her, no.
He called me a week prior.
What date did you call her to rent the car?
I think it was the day before New Year's Eve, which was
The day, but not New Year's Eve, you mean Christmas?
The day before, which would have been the 23rd of December.
So I'm saying to you, you said he didn't make up his mind that he wanted to go until Christmas Eve, but you had spoken to her before.
No, I didn't speak to her until that day.
A day prior is before.
A day before.
Well, yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Give her money, $600. Judgment for the plaintiff. Goodbye. Hope you enjoy him.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Whatever the situation may be, she should have went at him. So obviously there's some type of vendetta, but she got her money, so she has no reason to call my house. She has no reason to bother me whatsoever. So I hope she just gets a life and get on with herself.
Even though she told me I should have got it from Jeffrey, but I wouldn't have rented the car if Jeffrey would have came to me and asked me for the car. I did it for the sake of her and my son because she came to me because me and her was cool.
She wanted me to take my son out of town. She wanted to go do whatever she wanted to do, and that's case closed, you know?
My son is going to be, he's the one that's going to basically be out of it due to the fact I'm not letting him see his dad due to the fact his dad don't pay child support.
That ain't got nothing to do with this here. You running business all out like that.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Peterson versus Matheson. Step forward, please.
21-year-old equipment operator Edward Peterson is suing the mother of his underage ex-girlfriend, healthcare provider Sherry Matheson, for unpaid rent. Sherry claims, in lieu of rent, she did housework.
Mr. Peterson, it is your claim that the defendant owes you for rent. Owes you for rent for herself and her daughter when they lived with you in a shared house and you were all on a lease.
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Matheson says there was never an agreement that she was going to pay you rent. Mr. Peterson, when did you lease this house and who lived there?
I began the lease on this house, I believe it was the 4th of October of last year, and the initial parties that moved in were myself, Sherry, her daughter Amber, and Sherry's boyfriend Dan.
Now, in reading these papers, it is intimated in these papers that Amber, that's the daughter, was your girlfriend.
Yes, ma'am.
And how old are you, sir?
I'm 21 years old.
And how old was Amber when she moved in?
I found out that she was 16.
Amber was 16.
Now, I was at the
Wait,
time...
shh. I don't care what you know. Amber was 16 at the time, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, how many bedrooms were in this house?
It was a 2-bedroom townhome.
I assume that Miss Matheson, who moved in with her boyfriend, and your boyfriend's name is?
Dan.
Dan, shared one bedroom.
Yes, ma'am.
And you shared another bedroom with Amber?
Yes, ma'am.
With her mother's consent?
Yes.
Shame on you. Big time. How many months did that arrangement continue?
That arrangement continued for 2 months, and at the end of the 2nd month, I had not received any money from Amber or her mother for the rent.
Amber wasn't going to pay you any money, sir. Was that the arrangement, that Amber pay you money?
The arrangement was that everybody pays their own portion of the rent. There were 4 of us living there.
Well, Amber can't pay her portion of the rent because Amber's a minor. Right?
Correct.
So how much was her mother supposed to pay?
Let's see. Her mother would have paid the $312 for herself per month, and the agreement was that she would also pay the $312 for her daughter, which would be $650 or $625.
Bull. Bull. There's no way that Miss Matheson said to you, "You're sleeping with my daughter in your bedroom, and I'm going to pay her rent." You're lucky you're not in jail, sir. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Your lawsuit is the height of chutzpah. Why you would expose yourself is absolutely beyond me. Are you still in this apartment?
Yes, I am.
So why in the world, Mr. Peterson, would you come to court and say, I, in effect, depending upon the jurisdiction where I lived, committed statutory rape, and I'm here to ask her for rent?
The reason is, Your Honor, because for the months of December, January, February, and March, I was laid off from my job.
Yes.
And I needed their portion of the rent to help cover the bills of the townhome, help cover the rent and utility bills, which is the whole reason we're in court.
All right, Miss Matheson, you tell me. I mean, because I'm not too fond of you either. I want to explain that to you. I think as a mother, you are a jerk. But you want to explain to me, madam, what you claim this rent arrangement was?
When we agreed to move in together, he said that he would take care of Amber's portion of the rent and everything.
Of course he did.
And he said, Dan will end up taking care of yours. And he said, and with you doing the laundry and the cleaning and always had meals fixed and everything, he said, that'll take care of yours.
And then what happened to
and
Dan?
I always put money in and paid because I always had money coming in.
From what?
From my savings account in Kansas. And then I had child support.
Did your ex-husband know what these living arrangements were in this house?
Yeah, he doesn't care. He doesn't care about his daughter at all.
That's lovely to hear. I think you people all deserve each other. Except you. The case is dismissed, sir. You're lucky you're not in jail. You don't have any other children, do you?
Mm-mm.
Perfect.
Parties are excused. Step out, please. Now, this is case number 586 on the calendar in the matter of Peary versus Chambers. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, lady, have seats, please.
Ms. Peary, you had provided child care for Mr. Chambers' children for some time. Your complaint is that he removed his 2 children from your daycare facility recently without giving you the requisite month's notice. He had only given you 2 weeks' notice because he had paid the beginning of the month and he removed the children in the middle of the month. Mr. Chambers states that he believes that his children received inadequate care. He was quite concerned about an incident that occurred at your daycare facility with one of his children, and because of that, he should not be required to give you the 30 days notice. That's your position, sir, is that right?
That is my position, Your Honor.
Okay. When did you start to take care of the Chambers children?
Initially in January of 2001.
And how old were they at that time?
They were quite young. The youngest was crawling, and their older was around 1-ish.
That would be hard. How old were your children in January of 2001, sir?
I believe my youngest was just about 6 months, and the older, I believe, Your Honor, was just turned 2.
And they were there full time?
That's correct.
Now, there was a time when they left your facility for a brief period of time, and then they came back a few months later. When did they terminate your service?
December.
December what?
Of 2002.
December what?
Well, they had paid through the last day of December.
When did they remove the children? What date? Yes, sir.
December 19th, I believe, Your Honor.
Oh, right, where they did not come back. That's correct.
Now, Mr. Chambers, you're going to tell me why you removed the children on the 19th.
On that date, I, along with my friend, had gone to pick up my children. It was approximately 4:45. When I arrived, my child, who was 3 at the time, was sitting next to a piano in the living room, crying, and he had...
What's his name?
His name is Tyler. And he was wearing this shirt, Your Honor, and it was soaked on this sleeve, and he had chewed little holes in here. He was sitting on the floor. I didn't see any adult, so I went over and I addressed him and asked what was going on. At that stage, my 2-year-old ran up and said, Tyler's in trouble. Then the adult supervisor at the time, whose name was Liz, entered the room and said, "Oh, I'm glad you're here. We're very angry at Tyler." I asked her, well, what's going on? She goes, he scratched Mrs.
Just a second. Is Liz an employee of yours?
Yes, ma'am.
Where is she now?
Because of the incident, they had a state investigation, and all claims were cleared. And so
Where is she now?
She's working at the daycare.
You did not bring her?
No, ma'am.
Where were you during this incident?
I was present.
You were there at 4:45 p.m.?
I had left at 3:45.
So you weren't there at 4:45?
Correct.
Her employee's working. She chose not to bring her. I'm going to let you tell me what she told you.
Yes, ma'am. And also,
she said they were very angry at Tyler.
They were very angry at Tyler. He had scratched Miss Jen's piano. She showed me the scratches. There was considerable damage. He is only 3. To me, it was my understanding he had been doing it for some time.
Did Tyler cause considerable damage to your piano?
No, I did a simple polish on the piano, and they all but disappeared.
At the time, it looked like it was scratched?
Oh, it had been scratched, but it wasn't considerable. It wasn't anything that I was too concerned about. But he had done something.
Okay. Were you present when he scratched the piano?
Yes, ma'am.
What time did he scratch the piano?
It was during nap time, which was 12:30, between 12:30 and 2 o'clock.
Well, where were you?
During nap time, he lays in the living area, the general area, and I am in the kitchen area, which overlooks the general area.
You did not see him marking up the piano?
No, I did not.
When did you discover that he had marked up the piano?
When I was cleaning up after nap time.
What time, 2 o'clock?
Yes, it was between 2 and 2:30, and had found the scratches and said, Tyler, did you do this? What happened? And he showed me he had brought in a piece of clay from outside. We'd had a windstorm and a pot broke. Brought it in and had started writing his T's and his letters on the piano.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
This is not a business for you, madam.
I've been in the business for 13 years.
Well, I want to
love
tell you
their
something.
children.
I don't know where, but I wouldn't leave my child with you.
They're very well watched over. In fact,
what I'm telling you is, it's outrageous.
And later today,
I finally got the chow off, and I went back to get the Rottweiler off. That's when I got bit in the thumb. I picked my dog up, and he was full of holes.
child care provider Jennifer Peary says former client Mitchell Chambers owes for breaking their contract. Mitchell claims Jennifer gave his son a 3-hour timeout.
So from 2:30 to 4:45, he was in timeout?
No, ma'am. No. He was in a 15-minute timeout.
Yeah. Well, why was he still sitting in a corner at 4:45 crying?
That is not the case.
Well, you weren't there from 3:45 until at least 4:45, is that right?
I did ask
Okay. Now, what did her employee Liz tell you?
I asked her, well, when did this happen? And she stated between 12:30 and 1. The children were down for naps, and she heard Miss Jen scream and was upset about the piano, and then she said that they found some pottery in the room. They asked Tyler, and Tyler said he had scratched the piano. And this is the shirt that he was wearing, and his diaper was also wet. I have reason to believe I can't understand that he wasn't there for 3 hours.
Right. Your Honor, he regularly chewed on his clothing. He was a very nervous child, and he regularly chewed holes in his clothing and had quite a bit of saliva and drool, so that was very normal for him to chew on his clothing. And when I left at 3:45, I told my employee, go make dinner, get, the evening ready. He was done with his timeout. It had been done and over with.
Who was your employee?
Liz.
How many children do you have?
There were probably approximately 11.
11 children, and how many employees? One?
It is myself.
You weren't there at
Right,
3:45?
I have 3 employees.
How many were there that day?
2. At that time, it was 1.
And you told the one employee that was there to go inside in the kitchen and get ready for dinner?
At the time,
that's what you just
she
told
is
me.
not
I mean,
left
is that
with-
what you just told me? You told me you left, you had one other employee, you had 11 children, including at least 2 toddlers, one 2 years old and one 3 years old.
Right.
One that had already brought a sharp enough object into the house so that they could damage a piece of wood. That piece of sharp object that he brought in from the house could just as easily have hurt him as hurt your piano. And you left 11 children in the care of one person who you told to go in and prepare dinner.
There were not 11 children there at the time.
Well, that's
there
what
was
I
there
asked you.
in the day.
I asked you how many children were there on December 19th?
For the total day. But when I leave one employee in charge, no more than 8 children can be there at a time.
Good. You left one person with 8 children,
correct,
toddlers, and you told that employee to go and prepare dinner.
Right. She takes the children with her into the kitchen area.
Miss
She
Perry?
has, pardon me?
You're going from bad to worse, madam.
Oh, I'm just trying to get my point across. because-
You're getting your point across. She takes all 8 children with her into the kitchen to cook dinner?
That is
Where were you
correct.
going at 2:45?
My daughter has piano practice, and I take her to practice, and then I come back home. So the situation had not gotten out of hand.
Miss Perry.
Yes, ma'am.
This is not a business for you, madam.
I've been in the business for 13 years.
Well, I want to
loved
tell
their
you something.
children.
I don't know where, but I wouldn't leave my child with you. You have 8 toddlers that you're putting in a kitchen with somebody who's preparing dinner, and you're out taking your daughter to piano practice. That's outrageous.
They're very well watched over. In
What
fact,
I'm telling you is it's outrageous, and you shouldn't be here. So if you've been in business for 13 years, I would suggest that you take your business and its good name and walk out the door, because if they gave you 2 weeks' notice under these circumstances, that's all you were entitled to. Goodbye.
Can I mention the state?
Goodbye.
She didn't even let me
Why is
say
that
anything.
excused? They step out.
They had the state investigate me. They did a 30-day grueling investigation, and I was cleared of all charges.
It doesn't mean it didn't happen. It just means that they couldn't prove it.
I really don't think they wanted to pay me. They wanted to get out of payment, and so they made up a story.
The children obviously aren't old enough to really be a witness. They pretty much took my version and then her version and said it was a draw.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Meyer versus McDermott. Step forward, please.
Terry Meyer is suing student Elisa McDermott for vet bills and pain and suffering due to a dog attack. Elisa says Terry's dog attacked first.
Mr. Meyer, it is your claim that the defendant's dogs bit not only you, which was a minor injury,
Right.
but seriously injured your dog.
Yes.
By biting your dog. You want the defendant to be responsible for all of the bills that you sustained as a result of this attack. Ms. McDermott says that the whole incident was your fault. So I'd like you to tell me where this happened, what time it happened, who else was present when it happened.
It happened on January 12th in our city park, and I walk my dog there every day, 3 times a day.
What kind of a dog do you have?
I have a little rat terrier husky mix,
How much does the dog weigh?
about 25, 30 pounds.
What time of the day were you walking?
6 o'clock, exactly.
Go ahead.
I got out of my truck and I walked down to the lake, and my dog was on a leash, and I felt the leash go all the way out, and I turned around and there was 2 dogs on my dog chewing on him.
Excuse me?
Don't speak until I get to you.
Okay, thank you.
I turned around and the dogs were chewing on my dog, and his leash broke. I ran over to my
What kind of a lead was it? One of those that...
little retractable on a little cord, but he's a little dog, and the dogs were chewing him up. I ran over there and I jumped on the dogs. There was nobody around when I jumped down on the dogs. Then all of a sudden I looked up and she was standing there.
What kind of dogs were these?
One was a Rottweiler Black Lab mix, and one was a Chow dog. The Rottweiler had his jaws locked on my dog's behind, and I couldn't get him off. I screamed at the lady to help me get her dogs off of him, and she couldn't get him off. So
Did she try?
She tried, but she couldn't get him off. I pulled the Rottweiler's jaws off my dog, and I got him off, and then I went to get the Chow off my dog, and the Rottweiler grabbed back a hold. So I was fighting with 2 dogs at the same time. I finally got the Chow off, and I went back to get the Rottweiler off. That's when I got bit in the thumb. I picked my dog up, and he was full of holes. I could almost reach inside of his stomach.
He had several surgeries?
Yeah, he had to go in surgery like 2 or 3 times.
Okay, how did you find Miss McDermott?
I searched everywhere. I couldn't find her after I took my dog to the vet. She was gone already. The police came there right away. They couldn't find her. Then the city newspaper printed it in the paper.
And you went into the police station?
Yes, I did.
Okay, good. Now let's go back to the 12th.
Okay.
At about 6 o'clock in the evening, you're walking your 2 dogs. One is a Rottweiler mix?
Yes, I have. Did you want pictures?
I'd like to take a look at them, please, Bird.
And I also have something from the vet, and I have his vet bill. And I see a white, and I think it had some black on it, dog running at my dogs. So my dogs protected themselves. They did not attack his dog.
Were your dogs off the leash?
Yes, they were. And I paid the fine, and his dog actually was off the leash also.
I know, but unfortunately, his dog didn't bite yours, nor did his dog bite you.
He threw himself on his dog. My dogs didn't go after him.
All precipitated by the fact that there were dogs off the leash.
And actually, his dog did bite mine, but my dogs, as you can see in the pictures, have really thick fur.
I'm waiting for why you don't think you're responsible.
Because his dog wasn't on a leash, my dog wasn't on a leash. My dog did not attack his dogs, nor did they attack him.
Well, let me ask you this question. What efforts did you make to pry your dog away from his dog?
He ran about the same time I did. He threw himself on his dog, and I retrieved my dogs. He never tried to retrieve my dogs because he was laying on the ground over his dog.
What caused you to go to the police?
The first time I checked, there had been nothing said about it, and then friends of mine had read it in the newspaper. Because I walk all over town, everybody knows what dogs I have.
Now, Mr. Mayor, I have these vet bills, and is this correct that your total out-of-pocket expense for your dog was $304?
Exactly.
Okay. Is there any other evidence that you want to give me?
Yes, I have pictures of my dog.
I'd like to see it.
Here's one before. There's the dog after he was attacked, and me.
What did you do for the bite on your thumb?
I cleaned it up. I was so occupied with all this, I didn't have time to go to the doctor. This was a 17-day nightmare. I mean, my dog could hardly move. He couldn't do anything. I have...
Miss McDermott, is this the first summons you've received for letting your dogs be
Yes.
without a leash? Anything else?
Yes, Your Honor. I have her arrest. Well, she turned herself in, but they considered it an arrest
Can I see
paper.
that bird?
And if her dog didn't bite before, why did she put her own dog to sleep?
Which dog did you put to sleep?
I put the chow to sleep.
Why?
Because when he was very young, I had problems between the two dogs. And what I felt about the incident was that Chewy is that's the chow that I put to sleep, is a very protective dog. He's not a vicious dog, he doesn't attack, but he was very protective of me. And I didn't want to have a situation where a young girl lost control or a young child lost control of their dog. It happened in another city.
Your Honor?
Yes.
Now, she put the chow to sleep, but the Rottweiler did all that damage. Those dogs were vicious. I mean, there was... And what if it was a little kid at the park? Because we live by school.
Well, Miss McDermott then takes a serious risk. This is certainly some serious damage that was done to this dog, and this was done by the Rottweiler.
Yeah, most of it, just the puncture wounds on the back.
See, now I don't know how he can say he knows which dog gave, because he threw himself on the dog and it was screaming and excited and his dog ran at us.
He knows.
So
I put my hands in their mouth to pry them out. I know what dog they were.
He knows. Okay, so the pain and suffering that you're asking for is the pain and suffering for the dog.
Yes.
I don't know of any court that awards pain and suffering for the animal, sir. This clearly was a situation that was instigated, in my judgment, by her two dogs being off the leash. And I wish I had more confidence in the fact, Mr. Mayor, that your dog was on a leash.
Yes.
Do you understand what I'm
yes,
saying to
I
you,
do.
sir? I'm not so confident that when you let your dog out of the truck, you weren't just going to go around the park comfortably like she was doing. That doesn't say that this should be the result.
Right.
So absolutely, Ms. McDermott has to pay for your vet bills. And I'm also sure that, are you a working man?
No, I'm disabled. I don't work. I spent 17 days taking care of this dog.
Oh, okay, because I was going to say you would also be entitled to the time that you spent away from your job tending to the dog.
Yeah.
Taking the dog to the vet, but you are unemployed.
No,
So
I'm
you're
disabled.
Okay. So judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $304. Thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may... Now, this is case number 589 on the calendar in the matter of Tomlin versus Foster. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Ms. Tomlin, according to your complaint, you and Mr. Foster were together for about 3 years. You were engaged to be married. You lived together?
Yes, ma'am.
And you made a loan to Mr. Foster in excess of $4,000 to have his car fixed.
That's correct.
You want him to pay back the money. You're no longer together. Mr. Foster says there was never a loan. You lived together as a family. He spent a lot of money on you and your family, and there was never a question of payback until you were no longer together. Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you start to live together, Ms. Tomlin?
2001.
What month?
Oh, I'm sorry. Be March.
And did Mr. Foster move into your home?
He moved into my home.
And who lived in the home?
Myself and my 3 children.
Do you have any children, Mr. Foster?
Yes, ma'am. One son.
That son ever visit? Do you spend time with that child?
Very rarely.
And when did you separate?
Just recently. It was in February.
And when was this alleged car loan?
November 2002.
Tell me about it.
Well, his car, the engine blew in his car. So consequently, I had to take him to work for about 6 weeks. I took him to work in Des Moines. I live in Newton, which is about a 45-minute commute. He knew that I was considering getting a second mortgage to do a debt consolidation. I have a daughter in college. And he asked me what I thought about just borrowing enough money to also pay off getting the engine fixed in his car.
And you did?
Yes, ma'am. I sure did.
And you did? Okay. So?
We got his car back. Everything seemed to be going pretty smoothly until I come home to an email that I found on the computer one day, and I would like you to see it.
Sure.
This is why I asked him to leave my house. It's very disgusting, and I found out that he was seeing somebody that he had met on the internet.
So you asked him to leave?
Yes, I did. You notice there's a phone number on that she gave him, and I called the phone number. I was furious. She answered, and I said, I know you don't know who I am, but I said, I found my fiance's email, and his name, I told her, and I said, is he on his way there? And she said, well, yeah, he should be here in a few minutes. I called Dale on his cell phone, and of course he denied everything until I read him the contents of the email and that I had called this person. And then of course he started to backpedal, and he says, oh, Mom, I'm coming home. I'm turning around, coming home. He was supposedly on the way to visit his mother. Then he had the nerve to tell me, Your Honor, that it was my fault that he was messing around because I spend too much time with my kids, that I'm too involved with them and there's not enough time for him. I mean, I'm still very upset about this. I just feel like I've just been played here tremendously, and now I've got this huge debt and he's got a car that he's driving around and with new tires on it and his stereo, and so.
Okay, let's hear what Mr. Foster has to say.
When we, back in August, we decided we would refinance, and I would take some out of my thrift savings plan. She would refinance her home to clean up the debts between us. That way, when we actually got together, our finances would be in order.
August of what year, sir?
2002.
So in August of 2002, you took out some money from where?
From thrift savings plan, government equivalent to a 401k.
And what did you do with the money?
I cleaned up a lot of my debts, and I set about $4,500 aside to take care of the engine of my car.
Yes.
But as time progressed and the car wasn't finished yet, we started chipping away at the...
Chipping away how?
Oh, we took a small vacation to Lake Okoboji, her and her 3 kids.
Yes.
And then we we went to Branson for a week.
Yes.
And there were some other debts that I had.
Did you discuss with Ms. Tomlin that you were using your car money for those trips?
No.
So how was she supposed to know that? So let me understand this, Mr. Foster. When you took out the money from your 401k plan to pay off your bills, those were your bills, not her bills. Is that right?
That's right.
Well, that's what I'm asking you, Mr. Foster, because in your answer, you seem to indicate that it was for joint bills, but they were not. So you took out money and you paid for your bills. I'm just curious, what bills did you have?
Just different things on my credit report. I had a problem with the bank. It had to be paid off.
How much?
$1,500.
How much did you take out?
$15,000.
What'd you do with all the money? $1,500 isn't $15,000.
There were other bills that had come up, different car bills, a bounced check here or there.
How old is your son? How old is your son?
5.
You pay child support?
No, the mother refuses child support.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So if you took her on 2 vacations in 3 years,
Your Honor,
assuming that it's true, total support, 2 little vacations, right?
And later today,
$5,000 for what?
For the abuse, the damage to the property that I'd be in.
Just a second,
He
Miss
needs
King.
to be a man and stand up for his.
Pay attention to me.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Patricia Tomlin says she ended her engagement with Ernest Dale Foster when she caught him cheating. She is suing for unpaid loans.
So give me a reason, Mr. Foster, why you should not pay Ms. Tomlin the money that you blew on a variety of other things other than your car engine.
We had gone on the trips. We had spent money.
Well, let me ask you this question, sir. Did you pay mortgage expenses when you lived in the house?
Yes, ma'am.
How much did you pay?
Usually half my paycheck, $300 to $500.
And you paid that religiously for the 3 years that you lived together?
No, the first year I had just come out of a bad divorce and a bankruptcy, so
You paid nothing?
nothing the first year.
And in year 2?
Sporadic.
So basically you were living rent-free for the first at least year and a half that you were living there?
Yes, ma'am.
So if you took her on 2 vacations in 3 years, you'd figure that you're still ahead of the game.
Your Honor?
Even if it was true. I'm just asking. Okay. Assuming that it's true, Ms. Tomlin. But assuming that what you tell me is true, she supported you for a year and a half, you got a job, you were making some money, you took her on 2 vacations. Total support, 2 little vacations. Right?
Caught? No.
So when are you going to pay her back the money?
I don't know.
Try now. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,800. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you. You have no idea what it made me feel like because I have supported him for so long.
Man walks in, man gets hammered.
And then to find out that this was going on behind my back.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of King versus Ward. Step forward, please.
Supermarket cashier Kathy King is suing her ex-boyfriend, carpenter Ron Ward, for medical bills and lost wages due to his continual abuse.
According to what I read, you and the defendant had a long relationship, and you don't have any children together, but you had children that lived in the home with you.
Yes, correct.
While, according to you, this domestic violence situation was going on for a long time.
Yes, it has been.
And what you're suing Mr. Ward for is for a series of assaults, in one of which you say you were seriously injured.
Yes, I was.
Okay. Mr. Ward says that he neither drinks, which you allege, or has ever put his hands on you. Is that right, sir?
I've never, ever hit her.
You say the first incident that you're complaining of occurred in January. You want to tell me what happened?
Yes. Basically, there was a series of incidents with Mr. Ward's drinking, from the Long Beach Grand Prix where he was punching out people to his 17-year-old son trying to commit suicide. We also had his...
Could we stop with the drama? And what I want you to tell me is what happened with you in January. What assault you are complaining of?
Basically,
in January?
he had been drinking New Year's Eve, and we found him in the garage drinking a bottle of wine. We proceeded to bring him in. He went to bed.
And is that something that you are suing him for?
No, it's the injuries that I've heard from.
Well, tell me about it.
Okay,
Jen.
basically, he came in from the house. His son tried to put him to bed. He had roughed me house. I have went to the doctors. I have the doctor reports.
Okay, let me see it.
It's all stapled.
Says you went to the doctor on January 11th.
January 11th.
Just a second. 10 days after this alleged roughing up.
Basically, yes, I did. I wasn't sore till then.
Okay, next. Let me have next.
And then from there on...
Just a second. You didn't throw him out of the house?
Not at that time, no.
And you didn't leave?
No, I did not.
What's next?
Then on February 14th, he came home. He was upset about things that were happening at work. He started drinking. From there, he turned around and took a vase, threw it at me, hit me in the head. I then called the police that night. They came out. The officer was a new officer named... He said he wasn't going to proceed to go wake up Mr. Ward, but he'd be back the next day. He's seen the damage. I have pictures of the...
Okay, let me see the police report from February 14th, please.
Would you like the picture, too? It's the vase. When it hit my head, it hit the noyum and caused a tear in the noyum.
No, I just want to see...
Okay.
You don't have a picture of your head, do you?
No. There was a bump.
That is what I would have taken a picture of, not anything else.
I did ask to go to the doctors, Your Honor, from the cops that night, and they did not take me.
You're a big girl. If you were injured, then you go to the doctor. If you made the first step and called the police, you make the second step if you're injured and go to the doctor. Now, what happened after February 14th?
I told him that he couldn't come home.
Good.
He didn't come home for a while. Then I let him back in. He promised me that he would get himself out of debt. He was...
Okay, just a second. So you let him back in. When did you let him back in?
I let him back in probably 2 days later. He stayed in a hotel for 2 days.
So a couple of days later, he came home.
And he said that he would go and he would get help as far as treatment
Good.
But he failed to take AA. He went into a study for relationships.
Ms. King, when did he go into treatment?
April.
Right, so you took him back immediately. So you lived with him in January, when you got roughed up, according to you. February, when he threw a vase at you. March, and he went into treatment in April. But you lived with him all this time.
Unfortunately, yes, I had.
Ms. King, I'm asking you questions.
Yes.
I understand the drill when you claim that you've been battered, but sometimes it's difficult to extricate yourself. I understand all that. And you finally did, according to your complaint.
I did.
Good. So why are you here?
Because of the abuse, they have jeopardized my job. He told me that if I went and took him to court, he would make my child motherless.
What was he talking about if you took him to court? What court?
We went to small claims.
For what?
For damage of the house. I was being sued from the landlord that is in this courtroom. He's only suing me because they happen to be drinking buddies and friends.
Just a minute. So you've been to small claims court with regard to other things?
Correct, I have.
With regard to landlord and tenant dispute?
And
is that
abuse.
So far?
Yes.
And is there a judgment against you from landlord and tenant court?
It was a total of $4,000.
Okay. Now, what was the next case that you had?
I have terminated my daycare provider that is also in the courtroom. After Ron had vacated
That's this lady over here?
Yes.
And?
She needed a place to live. Her and her husband entered my home and agreed to pay me half of the rent and half of the bills to help out.
What did she sue you for?
A rental car, $2,600.
You owed her for a rental car because you rented a rental car on her credit card?
Correct. She won $642 and I won $26.88. Then she filed an appeal, and then right now I'm still fighting it because I don't think the judge knew that I had a case.
What was the ultimate decision?
She got $642.
What's next?
Basically, after February 14th and April, he completed the class. He was instructed to go through the psychiatry program through AA. He didn't want to go back. I told him, we're done.
So that's fine. That's in May. You told him you're done.
So then basically, he vacated the premises. He's left me with tons of bills. I'm being sued by the landlord, which
he's not part of his complaint. So he left in May?
He left in May.
So what are you doing here?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kathy King says she endured physical beatings at the hand of her ex-boyfriend, Ron Ward. Ron claims he's never laid a finger on her.
So what are you doing here? May, June, July, August,
I've been abused. He jeopardized my home.
Are you talking about prior to May?
Because of the injuries, I wasn't able to go to work. And because of that, in the Retail Clerks Union, you have to submit amount of hours in the grocery store to receive insurance.
Ms. King, let me explain something to you. This is not windfall day. If you wanted to sue somebody because they assaulted you and injured you, you sue them in January, you sue them in February, not a year and a half later. That's number one. It appears to me as if there has been an ongoing abuse of the judicial system and a lot of time wasted on this relationship that is now terminated. I certainly have absolutely no intention to becoming a party to this, what we call in French, michigas, or craziness. Pay careful attention. You claim to be a battered almost spouse. You had a 4-year relationship. You had no children together. There was no reason for you to stay together. If you were involved with, you don't have to say a word. If you were involved with a man who drinks, and you brought him into your home, and you have a child, that doesn't make you a very good parent. There was nothing tying you to this man. If he was a drinker, leave.
I left him. And,
no, you left
the first 2 years.
Listen to me. If you left him, then we wouldn't be here. Then we wouldn't be here. Your problem now is you now have judgments against you for a substantial amount of money, and you're hoping to even the score. That is not going to happen. In January, when you claim he roughed you up, you chose to go to the doctor 11 days after this alleged struggle. You again allege that you were injured February 14th when he, you say in your complaint, smashed a vase over your head.
He did.
Now, when you testified, you said he threw a vase at you and it hit you in the head. That's different. However, you chose to take a photograph of a wall rather than your head. I don't understand that.
But I did.
To me, just listen to me. If I wanted to make a case, I would take a picture of my injury. I would not take a picture of a wall. Now, you may not take a picture of anything. That I could understand. But to take a picture of a wall rather than your head, that I don't understand. Now is not the time to exacerbate what you allege was an abusive situation that terminated a year ago.
I went into 6 months of counseling to get myself recovered from it.
That's wonderful. So what are you doing here? You want to you say
pain
that
and
this man-
suffering. He has caused me a lot. I have been in
Madam,
court
you're a
system.
big girl. You're a big girl. You got yourself well. You claim he's an abuser.
He is.
You can't claim he's an abuser. Then if you're well and well rid of him, what are you doing here but for the fact that you're being sued by a lot of other people and at least 3 different judges found that you were mistaken?
No, the judge that gave me and Ron a wash said he awarded Ron $5,000 and me $5,000 and told me to take Ron to civil court and go for the whole thing because
Just a second, what judge awarded you $5,000 for what?
For the abuse, the damage to the property that I'm being sued for.
Just a second, you sued it. Just a second,
He
Miss
needs
King.
to be a man and stand up for his
Pay attention to
responsibility.
me. Are you telling me that you sued him before another judge at another time for abuse?
No, I sued him for loss of wages and damages, and he felt that I needed to take it.
Loss of wages due to what?
Abuse.
Goodbye. You had your bite of the apple. This is over.
Parties are excused. You may step up. Your Honor, this is case number 590 on the calendar in the matter of Sokar versus Van Dorn. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, ma'am. Have a seat. You're welcome, Judge.
Mr. Sokar, the defendant is your former wife.
Yes, ma'am.
When were you married?
October 21st, 2001.
And you have a child together. Your child was born when?
May 12, 1999.
It's a girl. So
Yes,
the
ma'am.
time your daughter was born, you were not married. You married when she was about a year and some months old. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And when did you divorce?
I don't remember. It
July
was
3rd of 2001. We were actually married in 2000.
Were you living together at the time your daughter was born?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes, we were.
This is your complaint, Mr. Sokar. At the time your daughter was born, your former wife was receiving some sort of Medicaid.
Yes.
And the state of Kansas says that they spent $6,000 for the medical bills that surrounded your daughter's birth. According to you, you negotiated with them and got that amount down to $3,000, which you've been forced to pay.
Right.
You want Miss Van Dorn to reimburse you $1,500, which is her half of the medical bills for your daughter's birth. That's what the case is about.
Right.
Right?
Yes, ma'am.
So, there are certain facts that we can stipulate are true. A, you were living together at the time your daughter was born. B, that there is no question that the state has taken $3,000 from your salary or whatever for the baby's birth, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
That there's no question you are the father of this child.
Right.
So, Ms. Van Dorn, I would like you to tell me why you don't feel, as the mother, that you're responsible for half of the medical bills.
At the time that I was pregnant, I was 19 years old. As I said, I was working part-time. I was also going to school full-time, not eligible for insurance. So I did get assistance from the state. At the same time, Mr. Sokar, who was living with me, but in a house that my dad was paying rent for, my dad basically supported me the entire first year that after we had moved from Los Angeles. And I told Mark I was moving to Kansas with or without him because I needed the support of my family. He'd even suggested me to get an abortion on at least one occasion, at least twice. He obviously didn't want to take responsibility for the child from the get-go. So my opinion was that, I didn't know how long he was going to be sticking around. He obviously wasn't dependable. He couldn't keep a job.
Was he working?
He was not working. He had started to...
Well, now let's talk about now. Mr. Sokar, do you see your daughter regularly?
I see her every 2 weeks.
Overnight?
Yes, ma'am.
And you exercise that visitation regularly?
Yes, ma'am. I try to.
Try to is not an answer. Is there any reason?
When she shows up sometimes.
Your Honor, it's not that I'm not showing up. It's that he calls with absolutely no excuse several hours before, not even giving me any notice that he's not going to show up, and yet continues to take me to court to fight for more visitation, and he's not even following through with it. He's not showing up.
All right, but there is a court order of visitation every other weekend. And what is the support order?
It is $255 a month.
When was that order made?
It was made in...
It was part of our divorce decree. It was scheduled payments for to begin in April 1st of 2001.
Is that correct, sir? That $255 a month was to commence April 1st?
Yes, ma'am.
2001.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you current in your support payments?
No, I'm not.
You're not?
No, I'm not.
How far behind are you?
I'm about 6 months behind.
It's more like over a year.
I'm 6 months behind, ma'am.
Just a second. Why are you 6 months behind?
Because I didn't have a job, ma'am.
How did you support yourself?
Unemployment.
So how much did you get from unemployment?
I was getting about $250 a week.
So why weren't you paying $255 a month for your child?
Because I had a rent to pay, I had a car payment, plus I was paying off my
Who cares about your car? Sell it. Who cares about your car? Who cares about your car, your gas, your insurance? Who cares about those things? You have a child.
Truth is, he's actually...
Well, you know how much $255 a month is times 6? Mr. Sakar?
No, ma'am, I don't.
$1,530.
Okay.
May I speak?
But,
no. She says you're more behind, but you say you're 6 months behind. 6 months behind is $1,530. You want $1,500
I'm still fighting
from her.
for that.
Fighting for what?
My child support payments.
Yeah.
And they're garnishing them right now as we speak.
Well, they should. Of course they should, because you stopped paying.
They're doing it right now.
How much are they garnishing? $255 a month?
Nope, they're about to garnish almost $400 a month now.
Way to go.
I think so.
Way to go. And that's if you don't quit this job when they start to garnish.
Right.
How many times have you done that?
What's that?
Have you ever quit a job, Mr. Sakar?
No, ma'am, I have not.
You've never quit a job?
No, ma'am.
He just gets fired.
Oh, well, that's a possibility. Quitting gets fired. Well, you had to get fired if you collected unemployment insurance. How long did you collect unemployment for?
For about 7 months.
So it's probably more like 7 months that you didn't pay child support.
No, but I was paying her too sometimes.
What do you mean you were paying her too sometimes? What does that mean?
I mean,
Your Honor, I've never received
like
any
giving her
direct payments
cash,
from
like
him.
clothes for my daughter and
I don't care
diapers
about
and things else
clothes.
too.
I don't care about clothes, diapers, formula, whatever.
No.
Cash money.
No.
Cash money. TFT. As my grandmother used to say. Tachasaf and Tish. Put it right there, in the bank. If you can't put it in the bank, it's not support. Do you
Yes, ma'am.
understand, Mr. Sakar?
I sure do.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Mark Sokar says ex-wife Jennifer Van Dorn owes for half the cost of their child's birth. Jennifer claims Mark doesn't pay child support.
I'll tell you what I'm going to do, sir. When you're all caught up on your arrears, all caught up, whatever the court says that your arrears are,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not going to finally dispose of this case, Mr. Sakar.
Yes, ma'am.
What I'm going to do is dismiss it without prejudice. When you're all caught up in whatever millennium that is,
Yes, ma'am.
in your child support, you feel free to come back here and sue your ex-wife for the $1,500 that you claim
Sure.
she owes you for half birthing of your daughter. Do you understand?
Sure
Isn't
do.
that fair?
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I just think it's ridiculous that he's coming after me for something several years ago when he's not currently supporting his child.
Because I lost my job, that's why.
It's obvious that he's not taking a responsible role as a father.
Well, I think she's pathetic.
In the end, he's still trying to get money out of me when I'm the one who deserves the support for my daughter.
I think she's a liar.
He's probably never going to be able to have a steady job to get any support.
Don't trust a woman like her.
I'm looking at a completely undependable father for my daughter.
She never let me see my kid anyway.
He's just desperate for money because he can't keep a job.
She's full of it.
Any job he can get, they're completely garnishing for this. He'll never have any money.
I still won.
Basically, his girlfriend's taking care of him while he sits at home and does nothing.
No.
She's going to figure out very soon that he is not there for her.
She wants more money for herself.
His true intentions are just to pick fights with me.
I'm done.
I wish I had a dependable father for my child.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Morin versus Hastings. Step forward, please.
Piano teacher Rebecca Morin is suing her former friend, Shannon Hastings, for the return of maternity clothes and baby's things. Shannon says the items were a gift.
Ms. Morin, according to what I read, you claim a loan to the defendant. And the loan was some maternity clothes and baby equipment because she was pregnant and you thought it would be a nice thing to loan her your stuff. You want it back. Ms. Hastings said there was never a loan of these things, that you gave them to her, and either she doesn't have them anymore or she feels as if she should be able to keep them. How did you know her?
We had several friends in common. I knew some people that lived across the street from her. They took piano lessons from me. I also knew her child care provider for her children. So, and that is how I met her.
What prompted you to make the loan of this baby equipment?
I had known the defendant for about 2 years. When I first met her, she was married to my witness here. They had 2 preschool-age little boys. and she had just found out that she had a brain tumor. Their family went through horrible things for the next couple of years. She was told by her doctor that she would not be able to have children, and she had given all her baby things away.
So far, is everything she said correct?
Not everything, not about how we met.
Is it urgently important?
No.
Good. So far, everything is about right. Good.
Anyway, my heart went out to her when I found out that she was expecting a baby.
When was that, Mrs.
That would have been
Fall of 2000.
fall of 2000, yes, thank you.
Tell me what items you gave her.
I gave her a crib, I gave her an infant car seat, I gave her a toddler car seat, I gave her an exerciser. Then there was also a playpen, there was also a swing, and then all the maternity clothes as well.
How many children did you have?
I had 2.
Were you planning on having any more?
There wasn't a plan, no.
How many do you have now?
I'm expecting 1 in 2 weeks.
Look great.
Oh, thank you.
So now you want your things back for yourself?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, the maternity clothes you're not going to be able to use anymore anyway.
Correct.
But the other items you could use.
Certainly.
Will you use them?
Certainly.
Okay. So, I gather you're not married to the same husband anymore. Because
Well,
the
the divorce is still pending, which is...
So you're separated?
Yes.
And the 3 children?
They live with me.
Your baby is how old?
2 years old, about 2 weeks ago.
Still use the crib?
Well, not that crib, but yes, he's still in a crib.
Where's the crib?
The big rail in the front broke, and so we had to get a new one out of the paper for like $50.
So you don't have it anymore?
Right.
Well, it went through 1, 2, 3 babies. Happens. Miss Moran wants the rest of her things. Why shouldn't she have them?
Well, basically, what was left out was that we met through the church, that it's a Baptist church that we went to. Upon filing for divorce, the church decided that they could no longer support me because I'm the devil's spawn. They don't believe in divorce, and so everybody basically just turned their back on me and said that if I followed through with the divorce, they could no longer support me.
When did you file for divorce?
Gosh, it'll be 2 years this coming October.
2001.
He's very good with dates. He may be not so good with other things, I'm not
Right.
sure, I don't know, but he's
You got
dates.
that.
Okay.
I mean, they performed church discipline on me without even telling me, basically saying that no one could
Your
support
Honor,
me
that's
anymore.
not true.
That's what I was told. That's what I was told.
That is not true. And that has
That's what I was
nothing to
told.
do with the case.
Well,
that's her perception of why you want your things back after
Exactly.
2 years.
Now, he was trying to get 50-50 custody, and we were having family services go through each of the homes. At this time, he only had Sam, the baby, in a playpen, no crib. So it was like 2 days before this family study was going to be performed, when he dropped off the children, he said Rebecca would like me to have the crib and things. And I said, well, then I'll talk to Rebecca.
Did you ever have a discussion with him about those things?
Yes.
Tell me about that conversation.
Before I ever loaned it to them, I had discussed it with the defendant. I had also discussed it with him that I wanted those things back.
The question is, had you told Mr. Hastings
Correct.
that he could have these things instead of his wife?
Oh, no, I did not say that to him. I did tell him I would like them back. I told him I didn't need them right away because I wasn't due until April. And so after the first of the year, then I began asking for him for those things back. That was January of 2003.
Okay. What is it that you want him to testify to, Mr. Hastings? Tell me before he stands up, because I don't necessarily think it's a good idea for him to be testifying against his soon-to-be ex-wife. They have children together. If we can avoid that, that would be a good thing. So would you please tell me what it is that you think he can contribute to this case?
That it was a loan, and he's got an email here that he had exchanged with the defendant.
Oh, well, I'll see that.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Children didn't ask for you to get married, and the children didn't ask for you to get divorced. So you're supposed to make it most comfortable for the children, because in the words of my father, 2 innocent people shouldn't suffer for what 2 guilty people did.
Meant to give the items back.
Are those what are left of her maternity clothes? I don't think she needs them anymore, but she should have them. Sure. So give them back to her. Ms. Hastings, having been through the drill of optimum utilization of maternity clothes, you know, they're sort of passed around from family to friends, so that you don't use an extra saucer just once for one child or 2 of yours. You can use it until it goes.
Right.
Use it as much as possible. But it seems to me at this point that Ms. Moran was very generous to make these things, let us say, available to you
I agree.
Now, the crib is no longer there, so you can't have it back. And certainly there was no agreement, Ms. Morin, that she would replace anything that broke. Is that right?
No, but it was certainly understood that I wanted my things back.
Of course, but what happens if something broke?
Well, I would think she would have the courtesy to at least call me, return my calls, and
She
tell me it's
absolutely
broken.
should have. She absolutely should have. But I have a feeling there's lots more there. That she felt as if she was shunned by the church when she made a decision to divorce. It's been a difficult year or so between these two people, going back to court, issues of custody and all that that entails. You know, do you send clean clothes or dirty clothes? When do you pick up? When do you drop off? All kinds of ridiculous things. With regard to that, and I digress for a moment, all I can say to you is children didn't ask for you to get married, and the children didn't ask for you to get divorced. So you're supposed to make it most comfortable for the children, because in the words of my father, 2 innocent people shouldn't suffer for what 2 guilty people did. Right?
Yep. Totally agreed.
You have 3 children. Try to make their lives as pleasant as possible, and you have to understand whoever is going to have primary custody should have a clear head. So if that's your wife, sir, if she's the primary custodian for the children, you don't want to make her crazy. And if he's going to be spending time with the children, a good deal of time with the children, which he absolutely should, you shouldn't want to stretch him to the limit.
Right.
Also understood?
Definitely.
Okay. So that being said, and whether you've listened to it or not is irrelevant. Whatever you have left of the maternity equipment and child equipment, you should give back to her. She needs it now.
Now, can I say that she added here a playpen and a swing. The letter she sent me certified, she never even stated those. I was never given a playpen and a swing. He has a playpen that the baby sleeps in. So I don't know if that's something that he got from her, but it's not in the letter either.
That's correct. He had 4 items, but he returned them to me within a week of me asking for them. She's never called me. I called her for 6 months.
The baby still sleeps in the
playpen. She has never returned my calls. She won't communicate with me.
Okay. So what do you have left?
I've got an extra saucer.
Good, that goes back.
That's fine. And I've got a car seat. He had the infant car seat. He had the playpen and the swing that I never had.
So you have those 2 items?
Yes.
And these clothes. Okay, so what I want you to do is, I want you to clean them up really nicely, because they are in otherwise good condition.
Sure, yeah.
Okay. And drop them off.
Okay.
Easy, okay?
Your Honor, can I say that these aren't even my clothes? These are not my clothes.
Listen to me. The maternity clothes you didn't ask for 2 years. I mean, I didn't want to get into this, but you seem like a really nice lady. The maternity clothes you didn't ask for in 2 years. You don't need them now, certainly, because you're going to have your baby.
Correct.
Right?
Right.
She finished using them 2 years ago. If you had wanted them back, you shouldn't have called her 6 months ago. You should have called her 2 years ago, year and a half ago.
More
and
than
said,
that.
Listen, 2000, now we're in 2003. I would like my maternity clothes back.
But Your Honor, I did tell her this was a loan.
No, listen to me. You're not following what I'm saying to you. What I'm saying to you is, if you wanted your maternity clothes back, when was your baby born?
He was 3 months premature. He was born in March of 2001.
Okay. So you had 2 years. Pick up the phone. Baby's born in March 2001.
I never even
say,
used
hi,
them.
don't need the maternity things anymore. Congratulations. I'm really glad that you had baby. Baby is nice and healthy. I'm going to come over and pick up my maternity clothes. You chose not to do that. Let them sit in her closet or wherever they were. Maybe she gave them to somebody else to use. Who knows? But you certainly weren't vigilant with the maternity clothes. The other things she used afterwards. So I'm having her return those things to you, but don't push it with regard to the maternity clothes. You are not vigilant in taking them back. Perhaps you didn't expect to use them again. In any event, that's my decision. Those things go back to you.
Parties are excused.
Thank you,
You
Anna.
may step out. Now, this is case number 533 on the calendar in the matter of Mahmoud versus Fox. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, ma'am. Have a seat, please.
Miss Mahmoud, you and the defendant were in an automobile accident.
Yes.
Each of you were driving your respective cars, and you are suing the defendant for both bodily injury
Yes.
and the damage to your car, which was totaled as a result of this
Yes.
accident. Mr. Fox says that you caused the accident because you were speeding to make a yellow flashing light. Is that right, sir?
Yeah.
Your Honor, he's lying.
Shh. Oh, sorry. Where are you from?
Berlin, Wisconsin.
Berlin, Wisconsin. They do have paved roads there, do they not?
Yes.
All right, because I read your defense to this case, and I was just curious. That'll become clear in a moment. What was the date of the accident?
It was January 23rd.
What time?
It was around 12 o'clock at night.
Weather conditions?
It was nice outside. It was normal weather.
And you were traveling down a one-way street?
No, I was going down Lincoln Avenue. It's a two-way street. He was coming on a one-way street the wrong way.
Okay. So you were going down a two-way street?
Two-way street, yes. Something like that.
And he was coming from a side street?
Yes.
I'm sorry. You're going down a two-way street. There are streets that intersect that two-way street. One of the streets was the street he was coming down on. But that street is a one-way street, and he was coming down that street the wrong way.
Yes.
So you weren't expecting
a
car to come out of that street because...
That's the wrong way
That's the wrong way.
Even if I were to look, I wouldn't have looked that way.
Because there were arrows that say
exactly
one way. And so you were hit in the intersection.
Yes.
Tell me what happened when you were hit.
My car started blowing up on fire. I couldn't get out of my car. I started kicking my door and it finally opened up. I walk out the car and I'm screaming, yelling, I'm going crazy. I mean, my car is burning up, it's on fire.
Was it actually on fire?
Yes, it was.
Was it just smoking?
No, it was on fire. It was blowing up everywhere. It was really scary. And I walk out the car and he's still sitting in his car. I don't know what he was doing. He had like his head down, or I guess, or whatever. And he gets out the car. He was asking me if I was okay and blessing the God and this and this and that. And he didn't even know he was going the wrong way even after a couple, like 2 or 3 minutes later.
Just a minute. Okay, it's enough. Were you going down a one-way street the wrong way?
Yes.
Where had you been?
I was heading south.
Where had you
Where
been?
have I been? Oh, I was coming back from Milwaukee, heading back towards Oshkosh.
But what were you doing? It was 12 o'clock at night. Where had you been?
I was off the off-ramp on...
Mr. Fox, I'd like you to pay attention.
Okay.
I know you have your own agenda. I have an agenda. Where had you been? Had you been working? Had you been with friends? Had you been out for dinner? Where had you been?
Friends.
Friends' home.
Racine.
I don't care where it is. Friends' home is my question. Or with friends at a bar, with friends at a restaurant.
At the house.
At whose house?
My buddy's house.
Had you been there before?
No.
And you'd spent the evening doing what?
We were playing pool about an hour and a half away from the accident. And I was returning home to town to get some clothes. I was looking for employment opportunities.
Mr. Fox, we have a problem here.
Huh.
Were you at a friend's house playing pool, or were you at someplace else playing pool?
I was at a friend's house playing pool, and I returned home and...
Okay. What's your friend's name?
Josh.
How many other people were playing pool there?
Just him and I and his grandfather.
Now, it is your claim, Mr. Fox, that Miss Mohammed caused this accident.
The direction that I was going when I turned back around to get to the freeway, the intersection with the map I have here, it didn't matter which direction I was going or where she was heading to. We would have struck. She was speeding. She tried to pull a yellow light, too.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You know, going downtown more than once, finding my police records. They lost the police records, God knows how. Doing all this other stuff. I mean, he's been taking time.
Life is full of aggravation.
And later today...
What do you think you're going to be successful at if you don't go to school?
Nothing.
Right. Is that what you want to be?
No.
What do you do when you don't go to school?
Run the streets.
Shh.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Nina Mahmood says her accident with Andrew Fox was the result of him driving the wrong way down a one-way street. Andrew says Nina was speeding.
Mr. Fox, you were given a citation.
Yeah.
For what?
Reckless driving.
Here you go. Did you plead guilty?
No.
What'd you do?
Need some time to pay the fine.
Oh, just a second.
Not
Mr.
guilty,
Fox,
then.
what are you laughing at? It's not funny. Don't be ridiculous. If you get a ticket for reckless driving, you have to respond within a certain period of time. This incident happened on the 23rd of January. By this time, you would have either pled guilty, gone to trial, or been found not guilty. Now, which one is it?
Your Honor, I pled not guilty, and there was flashing red lights in the intersection because the cop told me.
Speak to me.
Okay. The cop told me straight out there's a lot of accidents.
Just pay attention. You pled not guilty, and what happened?
I haven't heard anything from the courts yet.
Let me see pictures. Yeah, I see you have pictures there. Let me see the ticket that you got, sir.
I don't have the ticket. I just have a map and email.
Excuse me? I don't want to look at your map.
No ticket.
Ma'am, would you like the police report?
Yes.
As a gift from my mother.
And she didn't put insurance on the car?
No, she expected me to do it. I barely even drove the car around. I barely ever used it. I mean, I was just waiting until I had enough money to be able to put insurance on it.
What year car was it?
It was a 94 Chrysler New Yorker.
What kind of injuries did you have?
I had like, my thumb was sprained and my wrist was kind of messed up. So they gave me a cast to where I didn't go to work for 2 days because of it. I had bruises. I had like huge bruises on my legs. I mean, just really nasty, awful things.
Okay, now what kind of car were you driving, Mr. Fox?
99 Grand Am.
Have insurance?
No.
Why not?
They dropped me.
Why?
Because they said I didn't pay for a premium 2 weeks previously.
You too were driving an uninsured vehicle.
Correct.
Well, Mr. Fox, the police officer who conducted the investigation clearly found that the accident was caused by your reckless driving and driving down a one-way street the wrong way. You know, that sort of thing happens, and sometimes it's an accident. Unintentional. Sometimes it's not because you're drunk or because you're stoned or because you're high. Sometimes you just drive up the wrong way on a street until you realize until somebody honks their horn and you turn around and hopefully you don't kill anybody. You almost killed somebody. You are responsible. Now, I will tell Ms. Mohammed that I think it's very foolish to drive a car
without insurance.
Without insurance.
I know that it was foolish, but it wasn't like I was driving around all the time. I was waiting.
I don't care whether you drive around the block. That's foolish.
It's true.
That's foolish. Okay? However, Mr. Fox, your problem is you caused an accident that caused both physical injury and property damage. And how do you expect to resolve that, sir?
Did it really matter which direction I was going in the intersection? With I saw lights, she saw lights, she tried to speed through them, and with the map here,
How am
I
I going to? I want you to understand something. The police officer found the accident was your fault. I find the accident was your fault. How do you plan to resolve the problem of the damage you caused? I'm past that, Mr. Fox. Get past it. It was your fault.
All right.
Well, the total out-of-pocket expenses that you have were $3,383.
Well, besides the fact of me taking the bus every day to and from school, to and from work, you know, going downtown more than once, finding my police records. They lost the police records, God knows how. Doing all this other stuff. I mean, he's been taking
aggravation.
time. Excuse
Life
me?
is full of aggravation. It's called aggravation.
Well, yeah,
Life is
it's
full of
aggravation, but I mean, it's caused because of him. It wasn't like it just happened from nowhere.
No, listen to me. It was caused because you were involved in an accident. Now, you could have minimized your own personal damage if you had done the right thing and insured your car. I'm not saying he's not responsible for your car, but this is not windfall day for you. Do you understand that?
I don't understand what you mean, windfall.
That means that he is responsible for your car.
Okay.
But I don't want you to start telling me that you had to take the bus to school every day.
I did.
And go downtown because you think that he's going to pay for that.
Oh, I'm not
He's
saying
not.
that he's going to pay for it.
Good. So, judgment for the plaintiff. And the total out-of-pocket expenses are $3,383. And I am giving you the remainder of the money in your pain and suffering that you had for your thumb, which you say was jammed, and for the bruises that you had. So I'm adding to that an amount that will give you a total recovery of $4,000. Judgment for the plaintiff in that amount. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, she sent me some harassing emails first, and I'd return them in a professional manner, more or less stating I don't have the money right now. Sorry.
It's scary. Think about it. You know, you're coming out of a burning car. You're watching your car burn up in front of your face. That's not something that just goes away out of nowhere.
She likes to call me sweetheart and this and that. And first of all, her mother invited me over to spend the night that night, and I'm thinking to myself, why? So your son's more or
niceness,
less
maybe?
take a swing or two at me?
There was something wrong with him that night. I think he's like either cuckoo in his head or God knows whatever else.
I was not under the influence of any drugs or alcohol. I was just simply returning home and went down the wrong road. And seeing court there, I guess I was wrong.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Counsel versus Lowry, step forward, please.
18-year-old student Adrienne Counsel and her husband Chaz are suing Adrienne's mother, home health care worker Loretta Lowry, for the cost to support her 15-year-old sister, Toni Caldwell.
Miss Counsel, the defendant is your mom.
Yes.
Your mother-in-law.
Yes.
And according to what I've read, there was a time sometime last year when your younger sister came to live with you.
Yes.
And she came to live with you because she had had some sort of a falling out with your mother's husband.
Yes.
And it is your claim that your mother owes you money for your sister's support during the time that she lived with you.
Yes.
Okay. Just give me the month and year she came to live with you.
August 2002.
And how long did she live with you?
She's still living with us now.
She is?
Yes.
And how old is she now?
15.
She go to school in your house?
Yes.
She goes every day?
No, she doesn't.
Why not?
Some days she misses and stuff.
Come up here. What's your first name?
Toni.
Toni. You think you're a nice-looking girl?
Yeah.
Are you a nice girl?
Yes.
You want to be a successful girl?
Yes.
What do you think you're going to be successful at if you don't go to school?
Nothing.
Right. Is that what you want to be?
No.
So why don't you go every day?
I don't know.
What do you do when you don't go to school?
I sit at home. Run the streets.
Shh. What are you getting out of being home that's better?
Nothing.
Isn't that foolish?
Yes.
I know you're giving me all the answers that you know I want to hear, which is very smart, but, you know, be smart and do it. Really just dumb. You don't want to stay dumb. Did you ever hear the expression, beauty fades, dumb is forever?
No.
Well, you know what it means?
No, ma'am.
Well, I'm going to explain to you what it means. That means you're a pretty girl. But eventually, when you get older, you may be a nice-looking person, but some of those looks are going to get a little old and, you know, not as pretty and fresh as you are now. So beauty does fade. Fades, it goes away. But dumb lasts forever. If you're dumb, you're always going to be dumb. And the only way to get smart is to go to school, to set your sights on something that you want to do to make yourself into a whole person. What does your mother do for a living?
Home health aide.
Does she love her job?
Yes.
Was she always a home health aide?
No, ma'am.
What did she do before that?
McDonald's, Burger King.
Do you think your mother would have been happier if she went to school?
Yes, ma'am.
Right?
Right.
Did you have an arrangement with your mother when your sister came to live with you?
Yes.
What was your arrangement?
The arrangement was she would give us $50 for food and $100 for rent per month for Toni staying there. And it would be temporary.
All right. So, Miss Lowry, let me hear. According to you, you asked your daughter to take in your younger daughter, Toni, because she wasn't getting along with your boyfriend.
My husband.
Or your husband. How long have you been married?
It would have been 10 years in April.
Do you have children together?
Yes, we do. We got 4
How many
others.
children?
4 others.
4 younger than Toni?
Yes.
What kind of work does your husband do?
He's not working now.
Why not?
He suffers from depression.
Well, how do you support your family? You can't support your family on what you get as a home health aide.
Me and him has split up, so I don't stay there with him no more. I stay with my mom. And he take care of the girls, and he gets social service for the girls.
He gets welfare?
Yeah, but I got the baby with me.
Let's go through this. Your husband gets welfare for which children?
Two of the girls.
And where do they live?
With him.
And you have the younger child with you?
Yes.
Do you get any welfare for the younger child?
No, I don't.
Does anybody get welfare for Tony?
No.
How much money do you earn?
Every 2 weeks is $1,100.
And where is Tony's father?
He's around.
Does he send support for her?
No, he doesn't.
Why not? Did you ever pursue support for
Yeah,
Tony?
I tried, and it just got all messed up, so.
What do you mean it got all messed up? He has a responsibility to contribute to Tony's support. And if you're not living with your husband anymore, and if the reason that she went to live with her sister is because of a disagreement with your husband, why doesn't she come home to live with you?
I was going to go get her this April, because I got to get my apartment, because I stay with my mom. I left my
Her
husband, I stay
grandmother?
with yes. Her and my mom don't get along too well, so that's why I let her stay with my daughter.
Then you have to support her. Do you understand? Why should your daughter take care of her basic needs?
Well, I feel like if she was going to go after me, she should have went after Tony's father, too. Go after both of us. Don't just go after me. Don't just single me out.
Well, perhaps she should have. But you didn't either.
True.
And you certainly had more of a reason to pursue support than your younger daughter did. She singled you out, madam, because you elected to have your daughter leave the house instead of your husband leave the house at the time. In any event, $150 a month is certainly a minimal amount of support. 8 months that she's been living there at $150 a month is $1,200. And you earn $1,100 every 2 weeks, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,200. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Your Honor, this is case number 575 on the calendar in the matter of Ayers versus Davis Ayers. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Mr. Ayers, the defendant is your former wife, and it is your claim that she appropriated an insurance check that was for you in the amount of $600. She cashed it and used it for her own purposes. You want the money back.
That is correct.
Mrs. Ayers says she did it. She did it because you haven't paid any child support, and you owed her a whole bunch of money, and she needed it. That's your defense.
Yes.
Okay. When were you married? When were you divorced?
We were married in June of 1991 and finally divorced in December of 2002.
And you have children together?
That is correct.
How many children do you have together?
One. We have a boy, David, age 10 now.
And who is David's primary custodian?
His mother.
Do you visit with him?
On occasions, yes, I do.
What does on occasion mean?
Well, it seems to have changed recently, where normally I can pick him up when he comes home from school, he'll call me and say, Dad, come pick me up, or some things like that. And Nita has changed that and wanted me to make plans through her instead of David.
That's the appropriate thing to do.
It's understood, but when at moments before that, I would try and call her, leave messages on the home phone, cell phone, and everything, and it took a long time
Are you
to
telling
receive.
me? Are you telling me that your divorce decree does not provide for scheduled visitation?
No, we do not have any legal visitation or child support or anything set up.
Who has a copy of the judgment of divorce?
I do.
I'd like to take a look at it, please. Just curious, Ms. Sayers, what was the problem with securing jurisdiction for a divorce? Because this is a bizarre situation for me, where you have a divorce, an absolute divorce that doesn't mention the issue of the marriage, child support, visitation, custody, all the things that are usually encompassed in a judgment of divorce. This does not. Can you explain that to me?
Yes, I had an option of either spending a lot of money and getting a divorce that did encompass visitation and custody, or spending less money. Since I was doing it by myself, he would agree to the divorce, but he wouldn't pay anything toward it. So the least expensive way for me to end it was to get one that didn't have all that in it. So That's
So
what I
he
did.
agreed to this kind of a divorce as long as it didn't cost him any money?
Yes.
Can I say something?
Yes, you can.
Reason I did that way is because I actually found a $100 check that I had given her, a duplicate, in 1995 if she wanted a divorce, and I gave her $100 towards it, and she decided to do whatever she did with that money. Also, she did not get the divorce. And then,
How long have you been separated?
since 94 or 5 or something
Most
like
of our
that.
married life, we've been separated. We've lived together for a total of, we tried to put it together about 2 years.
Gotcha. And David has been in your primary care during that all that
Yes, he
time?
has.
Okay. Mr. Reyes,
Yes,
your former wife carried you on her insurance, is that right?
yes, she did.
Until what year?
Until the divorce went through, and even after the divorce, when I called Blue Cross Blue Shield, they said I was still on there, so I don't know whether she was going through the emotions of taking me off or whatever.
Whatever, so she kept you on the insurance.
Correct.
That was really very nice of her.
It is, and I accepted it, and I
Bishop,
thank
that
her.
was lovely of her. What kind of work do you do?
Right now, I am unemployed. I'm a temp agency, and I work part-time at a grocery store, but I'm not working full-time anywhere.
Well, what have you been doing since 1995 when you separated?
I've been working off and on jobs, and I was working on a good job, and my past has basically messed up my work. I had a good job, really good job, and I lost it. And I must say, last year I lived most of it on inheritance from my grandmother, and I was
How
very
much
blessed.
inheritance?
She left me approximately, was it about
Don't look at her.
10,000?
Don't look at her, look at
Okay,
me.
yeah, about 10,000.
Of the $10,000, how much did you give Miss Ayers for David's support?
Actually, it wasn't directly towards David's support. I gave her about at least $900 to pay some bills for her within where she was living, and I put $500 in my son's savings account.
So you gave her a total of $1,400 for the year?
I'd say that, yes.
The year prior to that, how much did you give her?
I have a number of check stubs just showing her approximately about maybe another total of, I don't know, within the years of the separation from 95 that you're asking. I don't know, it's grand total. Your Honor, I'd say about 5,000. Every now I would give money, and also when we go shopping for school clothes.
I don't want to hear about school clothes.
Okay, well, I'm
Not interested. Because did you get $1,400 from him last year? $500 for David, $900 towards bills?
I got $900 toward bills, that's all.
And he says he put in $500 for David. So in the year 2002, you got a grand total of $900 from him for the entire year. Is that right?
Yes, but it wasn't child support.
It was for bills.
It was, we were attempting to get back together, and he was attempting to move to Charlotte to have something to do with his son's life. And at that time is where I added him to my insurance, and we knew it might not work because we tried before. And we said, okay, I'll put you on the insurance and get some things done, some medical things. And his gesture was he bought me a ring and for Mother's Day, and he paid for my storage fee for 1 month and my car note for 1 month. That was the $900. He's since taken the ring back, and I did keep the $900.
I didn't take it, but I have.
What do you mean? You mean she gave it to you?
It was upon discussion and mentioning why would you want to not want to be with me and love me, but wear something that is monetary that I gave you as a replacement of a wedding ring that you and I lost. And when she handed it, held it up, is this what it's about? And yes, I took it, so we didn't fight over it. She gave it to me, and that's it.
We did
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Ayers?
Yes, ma'am.
It is my assumption, sir, that for most of your son's life, you have been a father who has not supported him. Is that right?
No, that's not correct.
$900. Let us assume, sir, that I say that the $900 that you gave her last year was for your son, for support. And let us assume that I believe everything that you say, that since 1995 you had given her a total of approximately $5,000
No,
for your
that's
son.
not correct. I have many pay stubs here that add up to more than that, and some pay stubs that I
How
checks that in.
much? Give me an idea.
I'll give you an idea of about another 8,000.
So in 8 years, is what you say, just a second, of course, Ms. Ayers. So in 8 years, you're telling me that you gave your son $8,000 towards his support. Is that what you're saying
Yes,
to me?
yes, I would say so.
Fine.
Okay,
That is about $1,000 a year. Is that right?
that's correct.
That's not enough.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You've been a deadbeat for 8 years.
That's not correct. That's not
Deadbeat, sir. You cannot feed a guppy, a goldfish, for $1,000.
And later today,
Miss Smith, you would agree that some of those pictures are pretty miserable.
Yes, they are, Your Honor.
How do you explain that?
I'm embarrassed by those pictures, to say the least.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Robert Ayers says ex-wife Anita Davis Ayers owes for illegally cashing his settlement check. Anita claims Robert is a deadbeat father.
Listen to me, sir. What I want to understand is where you get the chutzpah, gall, to sue her for a $600 insurance refund check where she was nice enough to put you on her insurance, where you've been a deadbeat for 8 years.
That's not correct. That's not
Deadbeat, sir. You cannot feed a guppy, a goldfish, for $1,000 a year. And you want for her, who has been the sole support of your child probably all of her life, with the exception of the few years when you had a good job, to take money out of her bank now that she already put in because she was pretty much annoyed with you, and give it the $600 to you. And I'm going to tell you this, sir. I'm going to grant your judgment and hold it in abeyance for the following period of time. Listen to me very carefully.
Yes.
You will go into the local family court where you live. You will file a petition for visitation for your son and ask the court to set an order of support retroactive to the last moment that you gave her money. Do you understand?
Yes.
When you do that, and you have started to pay regularly for 3 months, I will release the check for $600. Do you understand? Do you understand me, sir?
If I have
you
to,
are
yes.
absolutely entitled to the $600 that she got by way of an insurance check that was designated for whatever surgery you had. It was her insurance. She was nice enough to put you on her insurance. You are absolutely entitled to
I would have
that.
never done that.
Just
It was
listen
upon
to me
discussion.
very carefully, sir. You are absolutely entitled to that. And I'm going to grant you your judgment and hold it in abeyance. When you are paying a child support order regularly, you can have your money. Do I make myself clear? That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused.
I don't feel like it's right.
I think the judge made the right decision.
I wish we would have done this earlier, and we could have just given me the check and it would have been okay, because everything could have been cordial.
He's never given me anything near $8,000.
No problem. I'll take care of my son, and I'll pay him and take care of him. I'll do that. No problem at all.
He does very little. The little that he does, have to prod him to do it.
She's a judge, Anita, and she wants to run things her way.
You can call me Judge Anita, but sometimes you have to be a strong person just to make things happen.
I have to do what I have to do, and I'll stand up and strong man like I've been doing before, and I'll do whatever I have to do to take care of my son.
If you keep on letting the person use you, they'll keep using you. So you just have to cut it off and pay the consequences.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Weekly versus Smith, step forward, please.
Irish dancing teacher Patricia Weekly is suing dressmaker Valerie Smith for the money she paid for dance costumes. Valerie is countersuing for the unpaid balance.
Miss Weekly, Miss Smith, according to what I read, was commissioned by you to make some costumes for a young dance troupe who were doing some Irish dancing in competition. She made the dresses. You didn't like them. You want your money back. Ms. Smith says that you used the dresses, she delivered the dresses, and you owe her a balance, so I have a counterclaim. A few questions. Those, I assume, are the costumes.
These are some of them. We also have a dancer with us that's wearing one of the costumes.
When was the competition scheduled?
It was over Thanksgiving weekend of 2002.
And was this the first time that you were involved in this competition?
I've been involved in Irish dancing since 1969.
So you had ordered costumes before?
Yes.
But never from Miss Smith?
No, this was, I started out my own school this past year of May of 2002, and so we needed team dresses.
How did you find Miss Smith?
I looked in the Yellow Pages in Omaha as well as on the internet for an embroidery company because the dresses are all embroidered, and I started there.
Did you get references?
No.
Why not?
Because the way we went through the whole order process, she did some sample embroidery for me, and I paid for a sample dress to be made. And from those things, I proceeded with the order.
And you were satisfied?
I was satisfied with the direction
sample.
it was going, yes.
When did you get the sample?
I got the sample on September 12th, 2002.
Can I see the sample?
Yes.
Miss Smith, is this the sample dress that you made?
Yes, I believe it is.
Can I see it, please?
Your Honor, this was the first dress that was made, and actually when she
Just a second.
Okay.
This was the sample.
That's correct.
Exactly the way it is here.
No, the cuffs didn't actually fit around the sleeves, and they were needed for a competition. So I actually had to add some black so that they would actually be able to go around the sleeve.
You added the black?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Patricia Weekly says she hired Valerie Smith to make dresses for an Irish dancing competition. Patricia says the dresses were a disaster.
All right, so she got a dress. You got one of the costumes on September 12th. You were satisfied with it. You told her to proceed with the order. What happened?
After that, I had given her a sample of a dress, what Irish dancing dresses should look like, since this was a new project for Val. And she had the use of this dress. I provided her patterns, and we started working on the dress. There were some irregularities in that sample that she said she would actually remake it and was embarrassed of that dress. So I was confident, based on our conversations, that it would go in the right direction. We had appointments for 5 different fittings. She showed up at 2 of them. And on the first fitting she came, the dresses weren't done. There were 4 out of the 6, and they were in various states of completion, and tried them on the girls, took measurements, made notes on things that needed to be fixed, and let down, taken up, taken in. And then...
when did she deliver the dresses to you?
It was somewhere between 10 and 10:30 p.m. on November 27th, the day before Thanksgiving, at my home.
How many costumes did she deliver?
She delivered 6.
Did you look at them?
They were all bagged up on hangers, ready to go.
The answer is, did you look at them?
Not immediately, no.
So you didn't look at them before she left?
No.
When did you look at them?
After she left, it's nice to lay the dresses flat so the pleats hang.
Did you
I
look
looked at them right after.
On the 27th?
On the 27th, immediately after.
Okay. Did you call her on the 27th to register any dissatisfaction?
I didn't call her due to the fact that it was after 11 o'clock, but I sent her an email that I have expressing my dissatisfaction.
Okay, do you have any picture, any photograph of what the dresses looked like?
Yes, I immediately took pictures.
Can I see them, please? Have you seen these photographs?
No, I have not.
I'd like to look at them.
Your Honor, if there's any way you could look at the dancer in the dress, the pictures are one thing, but to see one of my actual little girls that takes dancing for me in the dress is...
I'll do that in a minute.
Thank you.
Miss Smith, you would agree that some of those pictures are pretty miserable.
Yes, they are, Your Honor. This is the first I've seen of the dresses since they've been delivered.
Well, you must have seen them when you delivered them.
I did see them when I delivered them. Of course I did.
How do you explain that?
I'm embarrassed by those pictures, to say the least.
Right. Is the costume that you're going to show me now, had that been altered in any way by you before it was used?
No, there were some where we had to take zippers out to make them, try to have them hang straight. But we realized after we worked on them for 2 nights, all night, that there was really nothing we could do other than pin and tape and try to make them hang.
All right, so let me
straight.
see the dress that you want to show me. You have
Yes.
a witness outside?
Yes, I do.
Okay, stay right there. Okay. Turn around. Oh, that's awful. I'm not you. You're adorable. The dress doesn't fit. Okay, why don't you go have a seat? Okay. Did the girls use the dresses to dance?
Yes, they did. Given that the competition was the day after Thanksgiving, there was, and half
Nothing
the team
they
had
could do.
left for Chicago.
Okay.
Nothing to do.
I'll hear you.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is the first time I've seen the dresses. I did receive the complaint from Ms. Weekly, but this is the first time I've seen the dresses and the problems that are with those dresses. As I recall, when I delivered them, they were not in that type of condition. However, after they've settled, I don't know what could happen to that type of costume with the weight. The skirt
Stand
is
up.
rather heavy.
Stand up. Turn around.
Your Honor, this dress...
Shh. Sorry. Turn around. That doesn't fit.
No, that does not fit at all.
Right.
I agree with you.
And you wouldn't expect to be paid for that, would you?
Not in that condition, no, ma'am.
Okay. Sit down. And you delivered the costumes the day before they were scheduled to leave. Is
I
that right?
delivered them by the day she specified I could deliver them the latest
Well,
by.
and I understand that, but when you're delivering dresses at the last minute, you have to assume the consequences of them not being right.
Sure, I understand.
Of course. So she paid you $2,400. The dresses are awful. She gets her money back, and you get nothing. That's all.
Parties are
Thank you,
excused.
Your
You
Honor.
may step out.
হ্যালো ফ্রেন্ডসরা, তোমরা সবাই কেমন আছো? আশা করি সবাই ভালো আছো। আজকে তোমাদের সামনে আমি এই ছবিটি রং করে দেখাবো। ভিডিওটি না টেনে সম্পূর্ণ দেখবে। আমাদের ছবিটি রং করা সম্পূর্ণ হলো।